Yeah, welcome in. Bill Michaels Show on this Monday, a sunny Monday. Good to have you on board. I'm Bill Michaels, Ben Kenny producing the program. You want to get a hold of us? It is easy. The phone number, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can find us at the phone number. You can also track us down via Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Or at Ben Z. Kenny. If you want to touch base with Ben, you can find us over on the Facebook fan page. You can find us at The Bill Michaels Show on Facebook, Bill Michaels Show on YouTube, Twitch TV, so many different places. Ben, did you have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend, Bill. Very restful. Watched a lot of football, both college and professional.
Not a lot of angst over the weekend. We didn't have that nail-biting Packers. You know what I mean? You didn't have that anxiety. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you didn't watch the Badgers on Saturday then?
I did watch the Badgers on Saturday. I started out watching the Badgers on Saturday and thought, oh my God, this is terrible. And then I flipped it back on just as they were, because I've been out running errands, and I flipped it back on, and boy, to watch the end of that game, what an exciting finish. And to be bowl eligible, to get the win. Now, granted, okay, it wasn't a pretty win. It wasn't a dominating performance by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a win. You take it. You take it, you move on. And, good for Jim Leonard, good for the program, good for the to watch the guys celebrate. I was glad about that. It was good. It was a good win. I liked it. I liked at least the moxie to come back and be down and just to look bad early on, and then the second half of the game at least to come back and win it. So I was happy about that. I was watching football yesterday and didn't get a chance to see some of the games that I really wanted to. But that game between the Cowboys and the Vikings, for the Vikings fans that were pontificating and pounding their chest and oh boy, oh my goodness, that was an ass whooping beyond expectation. Never saw that coming. I thought, I will say this. I thought coming out of that Buffalo game, I thought, they're feeling it now. And the Cowboys aren't feeling it. And I thought the Cowboys are going to come in really fired up with something to prove. And boy, did they. Holy mackerel. Tony Pollard yesterday, 80 yards. Zeke Elliott, 42 yards. Dak Prescott was running for first downs yesterday, although Dak Prescott, which, by the way, he had a fantastic day. Quarterback rating right around 140, couple of touchdown passes. Kirk Cousins looked bad. Oof. 12 of 23, 105 yards. That was it. Quarterback, no touchdowns, no picks. They couldn't do anything. Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook, 11 carries, 72 yards, averaged over 6 yards per carry. But for the most part, I thought getting Hawkinson, having Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, they got all those weapons now, 3 viable wide receivers. KJ Osborne, I thought, boy, that team's just ready to fly. And they just got shut down. I haven't seen the Cowboys defense play that well all season long. Didn't see him play all season long.
Could not imagine letting the Cowboys defense do that to
I know,
team.
Right? Holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. So anyway, but yeah, that was good. So yeah, watched the Badgers game, watched some NFL yesterday, watched a little basketball, took a little time, just kind of hung out with friends last night. They did a big Friendsgiving. We ended up going to. Thank God we left early. Holy mackerel. Otherwise I would not have been on the air today. It was getting wild there towards the end. But did that. So good weekend overall. You got the World Cup that started. Has there been any, I got a couple of people that we can go to, but we should probably talk. I know bars are open today as the World Cup is underway. I've got a couple of friends who have bars that are open. They opened early for anybody that wanted to go in and watch the World Cup. Are you into the World Cup, Ben?
Not really, honestly. It's not doing much for me. I think it's the time of year. Like, it's rivalry weekend in college football. The NFL is in a really entertaining point of the season. Yeah. College basketball starting. I don't have space in my brain, I don't think, to get into it.
Yeah, you've got, and you're right about rivalry weekend coming up. I mean, obviously the biggest one is Ohio State, Michigan, and it's big because both teams undefeated, both teams trying to vie for the top spot in the Big Ten, both teams in the top 4. I mean, it's just a big weekend. You got, obviously, the Iron Bowl that's going to be taking place. Doesn't have nearly the amount of meaning that it's going to have. It doesn't have nearly the amount of meaning that it normally would have, because it really, obviously with Alabama already having 2 losses on the season, it doesn't mean nearly as much. It's not like Auburn's near a top spot or anything like that, but the Iron Bowl is going to take place. But everybody's eyes for the most part are on Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State number 2, Michigan number 3. So that's the big rivalry game this weekend. Obviously, Paul Bunyan's axe, and you've got Minnesota on the docket for Wisconsin, and you're hoping Wisconsin can get the win, end on a high note, which would be absolutely fantastic. And this one is played at Camp Randall coming up this weekend, and that's a 2:30 start time, right, Ben?
Yes, on the ESPN.
Yeah, 2:30 start time on ESPN. Well, I'm just more 2:30 for those that are going, but that's a good one. So you got good games this weekend. I did not. I gotta say this. Did you watch the post game presser with Illinois taking Michigan down to the wire? First of all, Harbaugh, it's like hard. Did you watch that on the field interview with Harbaugh after the game? Was that not kind of a? Did you not want to just kind of like punch him after he ended up? I get it, because he wanted his kicker to get a moment in the sun, but it was his way of getting out of doing an interview. Didn't you feel that?
I don't know. He's Harbaugh. Kind of comes with the territory. I feel that way about a lot of coaches. And frankly, I just like that they exist, because I'd rather feel that than feel nothing at all.
Right. It seemed like he didn't want to do an interview. So he's like, this guy, talk to that guy. And then he just, he's like yelling, and he walks away. It just seemed like he just didn't want to do the interview and just handed it off. And he gave his kicker a little bit of sunshine there. So good for them. But if I'm Harbaugh, I'm elated that we kept our undefeated record. But then again, I mean, you had to go toe to toe at home with Bradley Bielema and the Fighting Illini. Give Illinois credit; they're 7-4 in the season, man. I didn't think they'd turn that thing around this quick, but he has. But my God, he's gotten huge. Bielema has. I mean, huge. I mean, he was always a hefty guy, but man, he's gotten big. But his team fell by 2 to Michigan. Ohio State doesn't have much to write home about. I'll tell you that. That Maryland went toe to toe with them. Tagovailoa, I mean, hell of a quarterback. What is it? Talia is his name? Talia Tagovailoa?
Yes.
Obviously, his older brother's Tua, plays for the Dolphins. But, man, hell of a day. Ooh, hell of a day. 26 of 36, 239 yards, threw a couple of touchdowns. And at the end, I mean, it ended up 43-30, but it was a lot closer than that. I mean, that game was if I'm Ohio State, I was sweating towards the end of that ball game, because the Ohio State's defense, their offense sucked first half, and their defense didn't play very well at all for the most part. So they got, I'll tell you what, it's going to be I think both teams can score. And just because this one's at the shoe, I would probably give the nod to Ohio State. I think they're the better team, but boy, they better bring it. That offense better look a hell of a. It was like they just rolled the helmets out. Like all they were thinking about was Michigan. That's all they were thinking about, was just, well, we're going to go out, we're going to win this game. Then it's on to Michigan, because that's all everybody was talking about all week. Podcasts on both Ohio State and Michigan podcast sites. For all the people that cover those teams, that's all they've been talking about. They didn't talk about Illinois. They didn't talk about Maryland. Both places, all they were talking about was the upcoming matchup between Ohio State and Michigan. That's all they've been talking about. So this one, much anticipated. I will say this, and we know, I think the Big Noon kickoff is going to be at Ohio Stadium. We would never have both game day and Big Noon kickoff at the same place, right?
They do it sometimes.
Sometimes do
and
they?
I believe they have, it is the Big Noon game, and game day did say they will be there as well.
And game day is going to be there too. Okay. I wasn't sure. And somebody yesterday, we went to, like I mentioned, we went to this Friendsgiving, and they said, hey, I know Big Noon kickoff's going to be there, but is game day going to be there? They should be. And I'm like, I didn't know. I wasn't quite sure if they were or not. But anyway, I digress, because isn't it a shame that game is an 11 a.m. kickoff? Seriously, that just feels like that should be a 7 o'clock game
Do you want my honest opinion on the matter?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I think it's the best time slot in college football.
Why is that?
At big noon kickoff, Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt.
Yeah.
I think it's perfectly done. I'm a big fan of 11 a.m. kickoffs, just getting it done and started right in the morning. I think the energy is terrific, and I think it leads into the day quite well.
I can't disagree with that. I just feel like it just because of the magnitude of that particular game, I feel like it should be a primetime game. I'll say this, the Gus Johnson thing, the over the top, it's run its course with me. I know people love Gus Johnson. I don't. The over the top, just the lips firmly attached to the Ohio State rectum, just the world famous, and you just stop. It's just I can't stand the over the top stuff. I appreciate the way he calls a game because excitement on both sides, and that goes back to even like last year when they called that game. As a matter of fact, Kristen and I were in Boston last year. We were at the bar right behind Fenway, the Cask and Flagon or whatever it is. I can't remember what the name of the bar is, but we were there watching the game last year, and he was like over the top in the favor of Michigan, as Michigan just played an incredibly good game last year at the Big House and beat Ohio State. But the over the top stuff I'm just kind of like, okay, it's run its course. I don't know if I'm in a minority here, but Gus Johnson is just God, just stop. Are you in that camp or not, Ben?
No, I am a big Gus Johnson guy. Gotcha. I love the energy. I think it works perfectly for college football. Like when he goes to the NFL, it's a little different. But when you're talking about like the chaos of college football and just the weird quirkiness of it, I think he fits it quite well.
It's just every play is like the biggest play ever. And really, a lot of them aren't.
It's fun.
The majority of them aren't. There's a few plays within a game that are big plays, and beyond that, it's like, no. Just stop with the overhype. Just call the game. Let the game. Put it this way: if the announcer has to add to the game is not that good. The game itself, I've always, and whenever I've done, and I did a little bit of baseball play-by-play, and I did a little bit of football back in the day when I was in Ohio. The game is the feature, not the broadcaster. And I've always remembered that. And you just kind of let the game go, and the game will meander down whatever river it meanders down. And then you add to it at that point, but you don't make the game. The game makes you. And that's kind of what I remember every time I hear Gus Johnson is like, oh my God, just stop it. So anyway, that's it. That's my thoughts on that. But that big weekend coming up. Paul Bunyan's Axe, Ohio State, Michigan, Iron Bowl going on. A lot of rivalry games this weekend, so we got all that to look forward to. And then the Packers on Sunday night as they go into Philadelphia. Oh, and that's the other thing. Holy mackerel. I want to get into the NFL and the NFL roundup. We talked a little bit about the Cowboys and the Vikings, but oh my goodness. There's a couple of games this weekend I had to scratch my head over. And now things are a little more topsy-turvy, and some things that we were saying all along proved to be a little bit true this weekend. So we'll talk about that when we come back. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Our good friends at Bud Light want to remind you that we're going to be at the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill coming up on Wednesday night. It's the Huddle, and it's the Huddle prior to Thanksgiving. So we're looking forward to that. So come on down to the Mecca Sports Bar and Grill in the Deer District coming up on Wednesday night. It's all brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
It's a great feeling. I'm feeling 9-1 today. I'm feeling 9-1.
No, that didn't work out. Not feeling 9-1 today. That was the Darius Smith prior to the game yesterday. Feeling 9-1 today. Only in my mind. No, because, well, in all honesty, you took an ass whooping. That was it, man. Woof. No! Yes! No! Yes! Took an ass whooping yesterday. Vikings fell, and I got Vikings fans already giving me grief. That's fine. You look, you only got 2 losses on the season. Kudos to you. I mean, you're having a hell of a year. You're gonna win the North going away, and you absolutely celebrate that. But the whole, I was getting it. We were talking about it as we were making our picks last week, and I was hearing a little bit of it. Those that listen that are Vikings fans in the western portion of the state of Wisconsin, out in Eau Claire, Rice Lake, Tomahawk, up in the Wausau area, Marshfield area, even in the La Crosse area, they about 10, 15, 20 of you maybe starting to give it to me because I was thinking the Cowboys were going to come in and get a win, and Nobody has said hello this morning. I'll tell you that right now. Nobody. How about them Cowboys? 877-867-1670. This is from Chris, who says, I agree with you 100%. It seems like Ohio State, Michigan should be the game to watch in prime time. We should all be sitting back, relaxing, and hoping that the Ohio State Buckeyes go down ugly. Chris, that's just cold, man. I know a lot of us in this area, a lot of you in this area. I mean, I have an affinity to Ohio State, but a lot of people here just don't care. You have one side or the other that you would root for. But I'll say this. On one hand, Ohio State is hated. We know that. Okay. On the other hand, I think people don't like Harbaugh just as much. Ben, if you had to pick one or the other, which one would you go with?
Harbaugh, 100%.
Can't stand Harbaugh?
Oh, no. I can't stand Ryan Day.
Oh,
and
okay.
Frankly, he's a great recruiter. He builds a good staff. I don't think he's a good head coach.
I don't know how to. The success is undeniable, and I agree with you about the recruiting aspect of things. As far as being a good head coach, Where would you pick them apart?
I think many of the in-game management decisions are questionable. I think the play calling is very questionable at times, given what his team's strengths are
Yeah.
and things like that. The team just isn't ready to play at times and coasts through a lot of the game and then finds wins because of how talented they are. But if you look at so far his era after Urban Meyer, his best team was with Urban Meyer's players, and the best quarterback they've had was a transfer that Urban also brought in, I believe. I don't know. He's not a bad coach is a wrong way to put it, but I think he's drastically overrated.
Who would be then the best coach in college football?
Nick Saban.
You think so?
Kind of hands down. Yeah, I mean, he's had the best program in college football for 15 years.
Right. But they've all, again, for all the reason. Now, I will say this, though. Nick Saban's teams have won, and they've won championships. So I can go with that. But is there another coach out there? Because I would hate to say it because I think he's such an SOB, but Brian Kelly's a hell of a coach. I mean, everywhere he goes, he just has success. So that's undeniable. He can recruit. Yeah, I think at times, much for the same I think he can elevate programs. I don't think Brian Kelly has the capability to take a program to that next level and win a championship. Now, we'll find out in LSU because he's going to get a legitimate shot. But I think with Notre Dame, it's very prestigious, but you're always behind the eight ball because you're not in a conference. So you don't have that ability to win the conference, but you always get that nod to get there. But we see Brian Kelly numerous times make it a couple times anyway, make it to the Final Four, and just get his ass handed to him. But I agree with you on Nick Saban in the sense that Nick Saban, yes, they get a ton of the recruits and a ton of the talent, but he's also won. So I would go with Nick Saban on that. But is there another coach besides Brian Kelly that you would look at and go, okay, that guy's real?
Kirby Smart. If Dabo, if he learned how to hire outside the building,
right?
Because that's kind of falling apart because he just promotes from within.
Right.
It sucks to say, but Lincoln Riley is proving to be a guy that's up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Ryan Day comes in a little bit after that. Like he's a fine coach, I think. There are many things he does that are so questionable, and he would be punished for it if his team wasn't so drastically better talented than the other.
Right. Yeah. Trying to think who else I would probably go with. I can't argue with any of that. I think that a lot of coaches get criticized for the in-game stuff. And I don't know one coach that has not screwed it up in-game stuff. And that doesn't get criticized for that. I can't think of a coach, you look at a guy like, and just, from my own experience, you look at a guy like Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell has taken Cincinnati's program. They were in the Final Four last year. And they're back into the top 25 again this year, a program that for forever was irrelevant. And he gets criticized to death down there for his in-game stuff. And I'm thinking, this guy took a program. Now, granted, Brian Kelly did a good job with that program. But this guy then has taken a program and put it consistently over the last few years into a prominent position, and people are killing this guy. So I'm thinking, well, what coach does not get criticized for in-game management and all their problematic issues when it comes to situational football?
It's a hard comparison to bring up because in the NFL, everybody is on a similar playing field when it comes to rosters and such.
Yeah.
And you could directly compare, this guy with this team compared to that guy with that team and how he manages it. In college, it's so hard.
Yeah. You look at what Georgia's been capable of doing over the last few years, and Georgia has risen to prominence, and they were down for a little while, and then they came bouncing back. Tennessee's now on its way back. Kentucky has been relevant, but they're only 3-5 in the conference this year. So down in the SEC, Kentucky was basically an irrelevant football program for a long period of time. But it's a fair question. Once you get past Nick Saban, who would be then the second or third best coach in college football? But would Ryan Day be in that consideration considering that the Ohio State Buckeyes, people will always criticize the Buckeyes to say, well, the coach isn't that good, but they get great talent, so therefore they're always going to be there. Well, John Cooper was an incredible recruiter after he took over for Earl Bruce. He was an incredible recruiter there. The talent he brought through there, how they didn't win national titles, I have no idea. But the fact that he couldn't even beat Michigan, couldn't get them consistently into the top 5, and didn't come close to. So they were getting good recruits, but John Cooper couldn't even beat Michigan on a regular basis, which is the reason he lost his job. So they've always had the good recruits. They've always been good at recruiting. And then, Jim Tressel, the same thing, brought in a lot of recruits, and then he went on to win a national title, even though he did it in, ways in which people criticize to this day. But Cooper got incredible talent, and came up short all the time. Whereas, obviously Urban Meyer had incredible talent, won a championship. Ryan Day has had incredible talent and has always been there in the top 4. So how much can you criticize him when coaches in the past had great talent, but couldn't even beat Michigan and couldn't even win the Big Ten, where he's had incredible talent, been consistently winning the Big Ten, always consistently in the top 4. They just haven't been able to win the national title. You know what I mean?
I think it's hard because the 2 times he made the playoff, he had mostly Urban Meyer's team.
Yeah.
Where when Meyer brought all that talent in.
But he was the recruiter for Meyer. That was the other thing. Between him and Luke Fickell, they were the 2 recruiters for Urban Meyer.
Yeah, he was on the staff.
Yeah.
I think this year is important because they lost to Michigan last year.
Yeah.
I think this is a very important weekend to have it not become normal for that result to happen and to show, because when they're forced into a phone booth game where they have to run the ball, they struggle. Yeah. It's only when they can get out and have a track meet that they win. Michigan will force them into one of those super tough games.
But that's the question. Can they win it that way? But if that's the style they play, that's the style they play. That's what they're built for. That's like saying back in the day, well, if you got, Wisconsin into a track meet game, Wisconsin wasn't going to win because that's not their game. They want to put you into a run, grind it out 3 yards, cloud of dust game. But that was the way they were built. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes the weather dictates it, though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking weeks ago where all they needed to do was run on Northwestern, but they kept inexplicably trying to throw the ball 60 yards and 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Right. No, I agree with you there. 877-867-1670. Well, we're going to find out because obviously they've got that big rivalry game this weekend. Here's the question. Could Ryan Day be successful at Wisconsin? Terry asked that question.
That is a good question.
I think he could, and only for the fact that, again, I go back to him and Luke Fickell were the 2 recruiters for Urban Meyer, and he's been recruiting the Midwest. So if for whatever reason Ryan Day is let go by Ohio State and ends up in Wisconsin, absolutely, I think they could be successful. Now you're still recruiting against Ohio State, so you're not ever going to consistently win that battle, but you can garner more, maybe. I'm anxious to see once Jim Leonhard has his staff set, and we all just assume that Jim Leonhard's going to get the job, but once he gets his staff set, I am incredibly excited to see how this program over the next 3 to 4 years is going to develop. Because he's going to get at least 2, if not 3 years to get it all together, to get his arms around it and say, here we go. So I'm really excited to see how this is all going to take place over the next 2 to 3 years. For sure. 3 to 4 years for that matter. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. By the way, Wisconsin has officially posted the head coaching vacancy. Which, by the way, I like it. It's the job listing, and they give you the job listing number and the work type. On-site, staff, full-time, Madison, Wisconsin, athletic operations, the department, and it's like we just need a head coach. Yeah, it's boy, you talk about minimalistic. The requirements for that. So anyway, let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break, come back. Hey, a team that is playing extremely well, that's the Milwaukee Admirals. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for single game tickets, season tickets, promotional tickets for some of the concerts they have coming up. And if you want a good night out, you want to sit in the end zone down there, you can put a party together. Go down there and check it out. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show continues on. This time of year, still good. Still good, if you know what I'm talking about. And that is, if you followed the fact that I had the Pello big patio door put in my great room. And got pretty cold over the weekend, which we all know was single digits. And ran down there on Saturday morning and on Sunday morning. And just because in the past, that room, when it would heat up, it just couldn't keep up. And it would always be like 66, 67 when I'd have it set at 70. It just couldn't always keep up because of that big metal patio door that was down there. I had it replaced, put in a Pella door, and I am happy to say that I'm like a kid on Christmas morning every day. I know it's stupid, but I run down there and it's set at 70 degrees, and every day it's 70 degrees. And you don't feel that little flush of cooler air as you walk into that room. It's awesome. I can't get over what a difference just adding that door has made. And you can find it throughout your entire house or just a window that may be leaking some air. But get a hold of our friends at Pella Windows and Doors. No money down, no payments, no interest for 2 years right now at Pella. Go to PellaWI.com. That is Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com. And just give them a shout. It truly is awesome. It's been an awesome experience. Really has. And what's really cool, and this is something else that's been neat, I had one guy say, I didn't have the great experience that you talk about, Bill. And I said, here you go. Put him directly in touch with Gina Della from Pella. And within about 3 days, she'd gotten back to him, already had an arranged group to go out and see what the problem was. And one of the things to remember, you can get Pella windows, which is great. But when you buy from PellaWI.com or the group at Pella Windows and Doors exclusively, rather than getting it done by some other aftermarket company, say you go into one of the big box stores and you buy it, and you still buy a Pella window, but it's not being installed by Pella installers. It's being installed by whoever it is that's on the docket that day. Just remember, go to PellaWI.com and they give you the custom installation. They give you the custom measurements. They have it custom, manufactured and assembled and installed. They're the ones that warranty that work. Others sometimes don't, even though it's a Pella window. It may not be put in by Pella people who do this all the time. So remember that. Keep that in the back of your mind. But still, Gina took care of it for the guy. That's the kind of service they give you. So good stuff. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Going to talk a little bit about the NFL this past weekend. Let's get to the phone calls, though. Mike listening to us in Rockford. Mike, what's going on today, man? How you doing?
Oh, Bill, I'm doing okay. After that Packers loss Thursday, it was a little bit vindicated watching the Vikings get annihilated. I couldn't tell you how much I enjoyed that. But I got to tell you, Bill, we said this before. It's a really weird year in the NFL. Scores are strange. There's teams that are winning that they get beat by teams they shouldn't, and this has kind of been going on all year. But I'll tell you, this weekend was the topper of them all. Who would have expected the Lions to go into East Rutherford, New Jersey, and beat the Giants in their own home stadium? I mean, it's just and then the Ravens could barely put away the Carolina Panthers, and then you had the what was the other team that was?
Well, you had the Eagles barely beat the Colts.
The Eagles, that was it. Thank you. And which leads me to my. I got two more things I'm going to say, Bill. I'll make it quick because I know you got a lot of people who want to talk. and then I'll hang up and I'll listen to your rebuttal. I'll tell you, the Eagles, a couple weeks ago, I would have said the Packers are going to go in there and get annihilated, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, did the Packers make me feel any different after I saw their performance on Thursday? Not really, but that being said, I look at the Eagles team, I look at this team, and I say to myself, who are they now? Who are they?
Right.
They lost last week. They barely beat this Colts team, which has got to be bottom of the barrel team. I know Jeff Saturday came in there, and it's a refreshing face, and I think he's a great guy, and he's doing a good job coaching, it looks like so far. But I think, Bill, am I a little bit off of the planet here if I say that if the Packers were to win Sunday night, and we know they're going to go into Soldier Field and trounce, the Bears have absolutely zero defense. I watched that game yesterday, which is the next point I'm going to talk about because it's going to, everyone in Cheeseland is going to be happy. Then they go into the bye. They would be what, 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
With the mediocrity in these other teams, is there a slight chance they could slide in? I'm looking, but they need, I think you kind of almost wanted the Vikings to win because the Cowboys, they might be fighting for that last spot. And I know they won, the Cowboys had the head, but when it gets down to it, it's still looking like a long reach for the Packers to make it. And the other thing I want to talk about is the Bears, because I live down here in enemy territory. Okay. I watch these games. I listen to the radio stations. And they're all talking for weeks. Oh, Luke Getsy. Oh, he's bringing Justin Fields along. He's doing really good. And I'm laughing. I feel sorry for this kid, actually, because I think he's a great athlete. Watching this kid play, what is Luke Getsy thinking by this? You have the 32nd ranked pass defense that they went up against yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Bears are going against a 32nd pass ranked defense. They threw the ball a few times. He missed Mooney on a long shot down the field, but what were they thinking? And then they got this kid running over it, and he's hurt. He's getting up. He can barely get up. They're massaging his hamstrings on the sideline. And the very next play, they put him out there, and he gets hit out of bounds. He hurts his shoulder. And now, Bill, this is what I'm getting at with this. It's the hybrid, the new hybrid quarterback seems to be the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Justin Fields, and all these quarterbacks that are running with their feet. But I think if you play smart, you pass the ball first, and then when you get in a situation where you see the opportunity to run, like Rodgers does, you run when you do run. But don't be a running back on the field and then throw as a second option. And I don't know what Luke Gutsy's thinking, because that kid's going to get killed. Look what happened to Cam Newton. I just like you to comment on it. I don't really care.
No, I agree. And great call. I appreciate the phone call. When you look at Justin Fields yesterday, ran for about 85 yards. I think he threw for 150 or something like that. He had the one pick that I saw, did have the touchdown, had a touchdown run as well. He's basically their offense. But when you go back through history, okay, you look at quarterbacks, you start with a guy like, say, Randall Cunningham, whose career was cut short because of knee injuries and because he just got the hell beat out of him. Tremendous career, but because he was the running quarterback, got beat up. Look at a guy that started out like Colin Kaepernick. Tremendous beginning to his career, took his team to a Super Bowl and got the hell beat out of him after they figured him out, and that was the end of it for him. You look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, even for that matter. Lamar Jackson's still pretty much the offense, but he's already had a season pretty much lost because of injury, and he's another guy. They talk about being an MVP. They talk about the ability to throw the football, but he's a guy that's doing it all. They just figure he'll go out and run it around. He'll go out and make plays happen. He'll go out and be the guy, and he's gotten the hell beat out of him. I agree with you. Justin Fields has been anything and everything to the Chicago Bears, and there's a lot of hope there. But they're going to get that guy killed. And now I will say this. His first instinct a lot of the time is to look, run. He doesn't look. He did it a little bit yesterday. I saw there was a couple of times he stood tall in the pocket, and the pocket was around him, and he was still, footwork. He was bouncing around. He had good footwork in that particular sense, and then ended up throwing a couple of times for a first down. And I was impressed the fact that he didn't just take off. And Pac fan says that guy thinks that Patrick Mahomes was a running quarterback early on too. Yeah, he was kind of the hybrid quarterback. Yes, he was. He was a run it. He was a throw it. He could do many different things. But then they kind of realized, hey, Patrick, you're really good. Stay in the pocket. Only run and then get down. Once you start making the money, run and get down. But he started out being a running quarterback too. He was a guy that could do it all. Now, he liked to throw for it more often than not, don't get me wrong. But he was a guy that didn't mind taking off and running. Absolutely. Absolutely. 877-867-1670. But with what the reason Justin Fields doesn't throw the ball a whole lot is, who does he have? He's got Mooney. Mooney, I think, is solid. They got Cole Kmet. What is it? They picked up Equanimeous St. Brown, don't forget. Chase Claypool now, who only had a couple of catches for like 10 yards yesterday. Montgomery is the other one I'm thinking of. Yeah. He doesn't have a ton of weaponry, and his offensive line has not been great. So as soon as they put some more weapons around him, and plus their defense is just so bad. Their defense doesn't do a lot of help him out, but I get it. 877-867-1670. Let's take a quick break. We're going to talk with Matt Mitchell, Action Network, coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers had the weekend off after losing to the Titans 27-17 on Thursday Night Football. After the game, Aaron Rodgers admitted he missed some key throws to a wide-open Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard late in the fourth quarter.
I missed a couple throws for sure.
What happened on that third down to Lazard?
Yeah, I couldn't see exactly where the ball was. Had some people in my face, but I feel like I probably should hit that one.
What happened on the one to Sammy?
Yeah, I just missed the throw. I don't know. I got to go back and look at it. I felt like fundamentally I was, in a good spot, but just didn't have the same type of consistent grip the same way. I threw a lot of kind of wobblers tonight.
Rodgers has been dealing with a thumb injury on his right hand. He suffered week 5 against the Giants. Since then, the Packers have gone 1-6. How much has it affected his accuracy? Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
I know he's battling through it. He's made some really great throws, and then he's missed some throws. And I think that's life of a quarterback in this league. You're never going to be perfect. You look at that corner route that he threw to Cobby. That was a hell of a throw. I think there were a couple that certainly he'd like to have back.
So the Packers head to Philly to play the 9-1 Eagles on Sunday night. At 4-7, Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb was asked if he's ever been on a team that had that kind of record and still made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, we were 4-6 one year. When I was in Dallas, we were fighting every week to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, we didn't. There's a lot of things to lean on, but I think at the end of the day, it's about finding a way to just win a game. And we're not doing that enough.
That's Randall Cobb. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program, brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. They're giving you opportunities to win not one but 2 different Chevy Tahoes right now throughout the month of November. We bring in now our buddy Matt Mitchell of the Action Network. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bill. I'm having a lovely time ready for my favorite holiday this week.
Thanksgiving's the favorite? Only for the fact that we've got a ton of football?
Yeah. Yep, gambling and overeating and gravy. It's all the things
There you go. Hey, your Bills, first of all, now, are you in Buffalo or are you just a Buffalo Bills fan?
I was raised in beautiful Rochester, New York, but I've lived in Milwaukee since 2010. It is my chosen home. It's so much like Rochester, New York, except everyone is smiling all the time, and you can actually see the Earth's sun on a regular basis. So,
Okay.
Milwaukee is my home. It's where I've lived for over a decade.
I was looking at the pictures of how the hell are they going to unbury where the Bills play, the stadium the Bills play? Oh my God! What did they end up with? Over 70 inches of snow?
They set a record for lake effect snow, which is like Aaron Judge hitting 500 home runs.
Right.
I mean, breaking that kind of record is a stiff competition. But good for them. And they'll figure it out. They got plenty of infrastructure to take care of it. And I know the fans are always willing to pitch in to clear the field.
Yeah, my God. But Buffalo goes on the road. They play in Detroit. Browns go on the road, and the Buffalo Bills still get a win. Now, who are the big winners this weekend when it comes to the betting side of things? Because I thought the Ravens were going to blow out the Panthers. I thought the Eagles were going to beat the hell out of the Colts, and I thought the Giants were going to end up beating the Lions. And man, was I wrong on all 3 occasions.
Well, like we talked about last week, Detroit, that line was fishy. And typically if it looks fishy, you go with it. And Detroit only catching 3 ends up kind of showing that the Giants are a little bit over their skis right now. The Denver Broncos continued to absolutely circle the drain. If I was Nathaniel Hackett, who I know very well as a Bills fan, he ran some of the worst offenses our team saw in the 2 decades that they were dreadful. I wouldn't buy any green bananas if I was him. And, of course, the biggest result was Dallas absolutely taking Minnesota to the woodshed and just refusing to give up. So that was a pretty incredible result that a lot of our team was happy to see.
Then you got tonight's contest, San Francisco on the road taking on the Cardinals. Give me the lowdown there.
One of the most fun parts of this handicap.
Which is that? This is in Mexico, right? This is in Mexico?
Yeah, this is the Mexico City game, and people forget, Denver is about 5,200 feet above elevation, the Mile High City. Mexico City is over 7,000. It's almost a mile and a half above sea level. The air is very thin. Defenses often get extremely gassed. It's a fun game to bet the over, particularly the second half over when defenses are really tired. That's kind of where I'll be looking. But underdogs of a touchdown or more against the spread this season have covered a full 2/3 of the time. The best line right now is still Cardinals plus 10.5. That is a lot. The Kyle Shanahan's offense has a hard time traditionally covering as a big favorite because of their penchant for running the ball and running clock. So even without Kyler Murray at the helm, I'm still bullish on the Cardinals covering a double-digit spread based on how things have gone this year. It's been a pretty remarkable year. It's the best start for unders since 1991 heading into Thanksgiving. They are still 58% going to the under, but favorites of 7 or more, 25-10 straight up, but only 12-23 against the spread. We're seeing favorites win overwhelmingly as they're supposed to, but failing to cover. Scoring is down, so it makes points become an even bigger premium. So I think the Cardinals are probably my favorite, and then I would take a peek at the under in the second half.
We got 3 games coming up on Thursday: Bills, Lions, Patriots, Vikings, and Giants on the road taking on the Cowboys. Give me real quick which one you like and why.
I think maybe I'm being a homer, but I think the Bills had a little bit of a get-right situation. I think the incredible chaos brought them together as a team heading into a holiday. I believe they're going to stick around in Detroit, which would actually make it more of a home game for them than the Lions, who have to come back from New York. Mm-hmm. I don't mind the 9.5. The Bills like playing indoors. I think that's a bet worth taking in a game that tips off pretty early.
Matt, great stuff. Enjoy the feast, and we'll talk again real soon. Okay.
Good luck, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Appreciate it, pal. There you go. Matt Mitchell, old boy Uncle Mitch, over on Twitter on the Action Network. You can see his stuff there. Got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up. This portion brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. We'll be back with a lot more coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
The Green Bay Packers, who are on a mini bye after losing to the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football at Lambeau Field, now focus their attention to the Philadelphia Eagles this coming Sunday. As the team sits at 4-7, head coach Matt LaFleur was asked, what are they fighting for now, and is the season over?
And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but we're going to have to play a hell of a lot better. We're going to have to coach a hell of a lot better and just truly take it that one game at a time. And but I think you're always fighting for something. Every one of these guys, myself, all the coaches, you're always fighting for your job. Always.
Speaking of jobs, now after Wisconsin beat Nebraska 15-14 Saturday afternoon and became bowl eligible for the 21st consecutive season, hours later, the school officially posted the opening for its vacant head coaching position. The position must be posted for 7 days before a hire can be made, though the overwhelming expectation is that athletic director Chris McIntosh has already decided to promote interim coach Jim Leonard to its head job when the 7-day window expires.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
The Milwaukee Bucks, who currently sit second in the East with an 11-4 record, are back into action tonight when they host the Portland Trail Blazers at the Fiserv Forum for a 7 o'clock tip. And Wisconsin basketball is in the Bahamas this week for the battle for Atlantis, when they'll take on Dayton on Wednesday. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in, one and all. If you're looking for a great weekend to get away, boy, they had a fun time this past weekend. I saw all the pictures coming out of the Four Seasons Island Resort, and if you're looking for a great place to go, take the family, get a weekend escape, they have snow on the ground, and the sledding trails are open. By that, I mean the snowmobile trails. Call them 715-324-5800. Make sure you tell them you heard it here, and you get 15% off right away. 715-324-5800, 715-324-5800, and ask for Barb, B-A-R-B, or just email her directly, Barb at the4seasonswisconsin.com. That's Barb at the4seasonswisconsin.com. So earlier today, go back to the last hour of the program, and we had Mike from Rockford on the air who had called in, and we were talking with Mike, and he brought up a good point. With the way, now we saw teams yesterday, I don't want to say falter, stumble, whatever, but it wasn't the all-out blowout that a lot of us expected. I really thought the Eagles would put it on the Colts, and they didn't. I thought Baltimore would put it on Carolina, and they didn't. And I thought the Giants, we all kind of had that inkling of, wait a minute, I don't know if I believe in the Giants yet. And even the Jets, for that matter, because the Jets got the hell beat. Again, the Jets cannot beat the Patriots to save their life. To save their life. They got knocked off 10-3. Both teams, by the way, now in that AFC East at 6-4. But you got the Giants, who are at home. They're 7-2 going into the game, looking to go 8-2. Here come the Lions. It's like a layup, right? And it was only a 3-point spread, and we questioned it, and I thought the Lions would win that game going away, playing at home and everything. And no, the Lions went in there and put it. It's like ever since the Lions beat the Packers, not only now they're 2-1 since that Packers game, but it's like it's inspired them. They suddenly have, they're 4-6 in the season. And I thought at the beginning of the year, getting to 6 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins, be a good place for them. Who knows what happens with the Lions from here on out. But that being said, now I thought the Eagles, after getting beat by Washington, would have gone in and just spanked Indianapolis, and they didn't. And they keep talking about the Eagles, quote, fatal flaws. You know, that's the big terminology facing the Eagles now. So on Sunday night, here come the Green Bay Packers with basically backs against the wall, no hope, but mathematical hope. That's about it. There's this, if you look at the light at the end of the tunnel, if you're the Green Bay Packers and you're thinking, can the improbable and the impossible become a possibility, right? That's what you're hoping for. Now, Ben, you tell me what's wrong with the Eagles over the last 2 weeks.
It's been different stuff. 2 weeks ago, as we talked about after it, when they lost to Washington, they just got gashed on the ground, and Washington held the ball. But then down the stretch of the game, I mean, even though the defense didn't play well, the offense turned the ball over 3 times. And when you do that, you're going to lose games. When you look at this weekend's game, the defense after the first drive played great, and they added Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue. The run defense was quite good. The offense just could not get out of its own way early. And honestly, I think part of that was like the Colts defense is good. It's been offense that's held them back all season. So I don't know if there's one fatal flaw. They just haven't put together complete offensive games in a couple weeks.
Right. They had the high snap down near the goal line that put them back. Now Jalen Hurts, I mean, he ran the ball quite well. He took a couple of hits yesterday too. But he ran the ball quite well. There was a couple of times he had that quarterback kind of draw where he took it into the end zone. Good pass over the middle and hit Watkins in for the touchdown. So, I mean, there was a couple of times that they moved the football, but I agree with you. And then that fourth down play where that draw that he ran to pick up the first down and then obviously give them the win at that point. That was a hell of a drive with time winding down, and then he's dropped back and then took it into the end zone for the touchdown. But my point is I thought, and I agree with you, I thought the offense would come out and just be smoking. They would just light it up, and they didn't. And so now the next question is, with the Packers on the docket, have they been exposed in some way, in your opinion, that would then say the Packers have a legitimate shot at beating them?
I think they have a legitimate shot. We've seen them to play up to competition. Like they did it against Dallas. What was that? 9 days ago. The Eagles losing Dallas Goedert, their tight end, one of their more important offensive players, was massive. Like as soon as he went out, it was all penalties from the backup tight ends in spots that normally wouldn't be penalties. So, I don't think it'll be very unexpected if the Packers play it close and win. But in order to expose whatever flaws the Eagles have, the Packers have to play nearly a clean, perfect game. Like to stop A.J. Brown and the guys on the outside, they have to cover, which they did not do against Tennessee. So I could see them, battling in the game. But to do what the Colts did against the offense, that means you have to actually be covering the guys on the second level, which they did not do.
Now,
it means you have to pressure the quarterback, which they have struggled with.
Two things I think the Packers need to do. One is I think the Packers specifically have to, you're hoping you get Devondre Campbell, but you're looking to get a spy on Jalen Hurts. That's number one, because he was their leading rusher yesterday and is most of the time anyway. But I think you can run the ball on him. I thought Jonathan Taylor did a hell of a job yesterday. He didn't grind out like huge yards. His longest run yesterday was under 30. He ended up having a touchdown on the day. But still, they just kept grinding the ball, because you're not going to win consistently with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan didn't throw a touchdown, didn't throw a pick, but didn't throw a touchdown pass yesterday. Only threw for right around a couple hundred yards. But you got to be able to run the ball against the Eagles. First of all, if you're running the ball against the Eagles and you're picking up first downs, Hurts isn't on the field and isn't able to hurt you. But if you continually run the ball and you're able to keep your defense off the field, which we have seen the propensity at times for this offense Packers offense to suck and put their defense right back in a bad position. But if you can run the ball, I think they can win the game. And it's going to be a lot like what they did against the Cowboys. You got to run the ball. You got to grind it out. You got to be able to get maybe a turnover or two, because we know lately we've seen a couple of turnovers out of Philadelphia. That's the only way I think they're going to go in and be able to beat them. Is there another scenario that you can see the Packers getting the win?
Now it's turnovers.
Yeah.
I honestly, they should be able to run the ball because of how good Aaron Jones is. But if we start seeing a lot of A.J. Dillon carries up the middle, given what the Eagles have done to bolster the front, I don't see that working. And it'll kind of be coaching mismanagement at that point to not have Jones on the field. But it comes down to turnovers.
Right.
I'm with you there.
No, that's the big thing to me, is if you get a turnover or two and you can run the ball in any particular way, even though they have bolstered that defensive front, now we'll end up seeing what actually the Packers can do, and if they do it that way. Go ahead.
Honestly, Aaron Rodgers has to play somewhat of a perfect game as well. Like, he was awesome in the first half of another quarter against the Titans, but then down the stretch there, he was struggling to move the ball to find receivers. They had 4 drives to get back in the game, and they couldn't do anything. So he needs to play his best game of the season, I think.
Well, now that goes to the next question. We're going to talk with Mike Clemens coming up in the last hour of the show today. And Mike tweeted it out about Aaron's thumb. And we're going to hear from Mike about this. But now with this, quote, mini bye, if you will, where they're back at it again today. Packers back on the practice field. But if they get with this mini bye and the extra time that Rodgers gets where he's not, using the thumb, and it gets a little bit better. If the thumb gets better and looks better and feels better and Rodgers throws the ball better, do we expect a different result? Because down the stretch, I agree with you that some of the throws were just, Rodgers just talking about him being off. I missed him. And part of it is, I get it, this whole same page crap that we continually hear about, which I at this point, to be honest with you, I'm sick of. Oh, we're not on the same page. Oh, he's not. You know what? Stop. Because I've been saying it for a long time. We see other quarterbacks. You see, Equanimeous St. Brown on the same page with Justin Fields. You see Marquez Valdez-Scantling leaves the Packers, goes to Kansas City. Next thing you know, they're looking downfield for him. He's become that guy on the same page. Last year, OBJ, middle of the season, goes right into the LA Rams offense, right in with Matthew Stafford on the same page. That guy would have been the MVP in the Super Bowl had it not been for the knee injury. All that stuff. This whole thing about, well, it's going to take time. We got to get on the same. Stop it. I'm done with it. It's an excuse. It's a lie. And it is also a reason for you not to be perfect anymore. And I think it's garbage. Now, there are certain people you have to obviously feel out. Sammy Watkins looks a step slow and stuff. I mean, you got to get that down, that timing down. But this whole thing about everybody needs to be on the same page and you can't do it in a short amount of time, then, which is another reason that we get our hopes up for a trade for a wide receiver, only to realize that, it doesn't matter because Rodgers will not be on the same page with him for 2 more years. So who cares? Don't go out and waste a draft pick for a trade, because the inability for you to get on the same page almost immediately seems to be something that is a fleeting thought that is crap at this point. 877-867-1670. But do you believe if the Packers, let's just say, with the topsy-turvy, we'll say, of the Green Bay Packers, and with the weekend we just witnessed, let's say the Packers go in and get a win over the Eagles. Now we know mathematically you're not dead. You're hanging on. You know, you've got tiebreakers with the Giants. You got tiebreakers with the Cowboys. You got other ones along the way. We know that you got to overcome. But with what we witnessed over the weekend, with the Vikings getting demolished by the Cowboys, with the Eagles barely hanging on in Indianapolis, with the Ravens at home barely hanging on to beat the Panthers, do we look at it and go, you know what? There's still an opportunity here. There's still a shot. You look at it that way. 877-867-1670. By the way, what is this you sent me? The Colts running back Jonathan Taylor in the final 45 and a half minutes Sunday versus the Eagles. 3 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, -4 yards, 0, 0, 9 yards, 7 yards, -1, 2 yards, 2 yards, and 0 yards. 12 carries, 20 yards against the Eagles. And you were talking about that last week, Ben, when they started bringing in Linval Joseph and brought in Ndamukong Suh. It was strictly to bolster the run defense. And they're also going for it. The Eagles are going for it. And you know Ndamukong Suh is going to bring in against the Packers. Always has, which is another reason that you hope you're able to establish some sort of a run game against the Eagles. And I agree with you about Aaron Jones. This whole thing with A.J. Dillon's, he's a nice complimentary piece to run out there every now and then, but for the most part, his season has been somewhat of a disappointment too. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Going to go ahead and take a quick break, get back at it, get your phone calls, thoughts, and such. If the Packers should get get a win this weekend, do you then believe that they're back in it all of a sudden? 877-867-1670. Coming up, more right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show, we continue on. 877-867-1670 on this sunny Monday. And good to have you. This is from Chad, who says, no, I'm sorry to say that even if the Packers win on Sunday night, I believe they are dead in the water. The Green Bay Packers have shown very little fight all season long. They've had an excuse maker as a leader, always the thumb, and every time he throws a terrific touchdown pass, he never says, oh, by the way, the thumb doesn't hurt at all. He is always an excuse maker, always will be, and it's the reason that they're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. I say it's time to move on from Aaron Rodgers, time to move on from Matt LaFleur, time to move on from Brian Gutekunst, find new head coach, and then move on with the Jordan Love era and see what we have there. That is from Chad. Chad, appreciate the email. Let's get to the phone calls. Let's go to Mike listening to us in Cudahy. Mike, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The last 3 seasons, 13 wins, we had a different personnel, actually a stronger roster than we do now. That window's shut. It's shut. The ship has sailed. As much as I love the Packers, I'm not going to drink too much of that green and gold Kool-Aid, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
As far as being delusional, come on. This is wishful thinking. They could win out all the way. If they can't win at home in a playoff game with 13 wins, what in heck makes anybody think, even if they win out, that they're going to go anywhere near a Super Bowl? They're going to be probably one and done in the playoffs, even if they're that lucky. Really. Think about it.
No, I would agree with that. I said this before, even going into the game against Tennessee, when people were starting to get kind of high on the Packers. I thought, I can't unsee some of the really poor performances that we've seen this year. I can't unsee Detroit. I can't unsee Washington. I can't unsee what they did over in London. I think that's the reality of what this team is. I mean, I don't want to be the big bucket of cold water, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
It's a reality check, Bill. If you think about it, analyze the wins that they have. One of those wins, we had to go into overtime to beat a third-string quarterback coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, it's nice. Okay, expect the worst, hope for the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, just analyze everything. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out this team. It's not a total rebuild. Like, I agree with you, Bill, on that. There's certain spots. But they're going to have to make a serious evaluation as far as coaches and players at the end of this year, no matter what happens, because they've totally missed the mark this year. I'm very disappointed.
I am too. I appreciate the phone call. I would agree with, first of all, I'm very disappointed in the season. I'm 100% there. I think what you have to really look at is, now this would be a case of say you and I sitting here and going through player by player of what it is they actually have. Right? You start with the defense. You look up front. Kenny Clark's the real deal. I think we can all agree on that. Jerron Reed was a nice pickup. He's given you some moments. TJ Slayton, he's gotten better, but there's nothing overwhelmingly special there. Devontae Wyatt, you certainly hope that he's the real deal. Okay. So TJ Slayton, Dean Lowry, 2 guys that really are guys right now. That's about it. Not much beyond that. Preston Smith, he's had statistically a down year this year. which would tell you that next year is going to be a terrific year for him. That's the way his season, his statistics have gone. Quay Walker, I'm going to give him some time because he's still learning. Certainly we've seen that burst of speed and the athleticism that he's brought to the table. Now, whether or not he's able to end up reading offensive linemen and such, he has played better as of late. He's played better since Devondre Campbell went down and as the play caller. But I'm going to give him some time. Devondre Campbell, I think, to me, has had to cover a little bit because of the growth of Quay Walker. Obviously, Rashawn Gary is a tough loss this year. You hope that he's able to come back and be just as strong, if not even better. Kingsley Ngabari, I think, has played admirably. I don't know what to expect out of him. Now there's Jair, we believe is a really good cover corner. Adrian Amos has been a stabilizing factor, covering the middle for a while now. Rudy Ford's been a hell of a pickup, but again, much like Rasul Douglas, has had flash in this particular offense, but you look at the track record leading up to it, it wasn't great. It was above average, but it wasn't great. So is he the real deal and or not? Then you look at same thing with Darnell Savage. With Darnell Savage being banged up, what do you do there? Between that, Rudy Ford, Adrian Amos, then you had Stokes. Stokes had a tremendous first season. Everybody thought, boy, this is going to be the best secondary in all of football between Stokes and Jair. And Stokes came out and didn't have the same type of season. Is there a misuse of the talent, or is there an overestimation of talent? And then the depth behind them certainly leaves a little bit to be desired, if not a lot. We've seen special teams be problematic on and off again throughout we haven't had a perfect season. I don't expect a perfect season, but we've had more than a fair share of blocks and mishaps, although they haven't given up the big return yet this year. But the blocks, mishaps, kickoffs, and such, haven't been great, right? In that sense. Then you go to the offensive side of the football. We can all agree that they need, Christian Watson is coming on. Romeo Doubs is banged up, but he certainly started to play better. But we all, I think, can agree that you need another guy. You have to find another guy. Okay. And the offensive line is going to take a little bit of a makeover this offseason, you would assume, with what they do with that left tackle position. You got a decision to make on Elton Jenkins. How much can you upgrade? Between Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, you got Luke Tenuta, right, as a backup. You've got Rasheed Walker as your 7th-round draft choice, Royce Newman, who looked just terrible, like he was on skates at time this year. You got to upgrade the tight end position. Josiah DeGuara as a 3rd-round draft choice, as much as I was kind of hopeful for him, that's a waste. Tyler Davis, waste. Mercedes Lewis, he's a veteran. He's not a downfield guy. He's not a flash tight end. He is a blocking, possession, receiving tight end, period, end of story. Robert Tonyan, they have not utilized him a whole lot, specifically in the red zone. He hasn't, I like the fact that he can be a pass-catching tight end, but he's a guy, he has, coming back from that injury, okay, maybe next year is even a better year for him, but you got to upgrade that position. And I would not put it out of the realm of possibility to upgrade the running back position. Aaron Jones, we all know Aaron Jones is a real deal, but A.J. Dillon having somewhat of a down year. 2nd-round draft choice last year, down year this year, and I would not have a problem if they went with another running back. I think there's quite a few holes, and in a lot of places, we're looking at a lot of average talent. At least that's the way it's playing out this season. So whether it's coaches putting them in bad positions where they're not executing with the better end of their talent, putting them in positions to be successful, or the talent's been overrated. And if the talent's overrated, then that falls on Gutekunst. 877-867-1670. If you start to go through this roster with a lot of honesty. Let's go to our buddy Gerard listening to us in Delaware. Gerard, what's going on today, man? How you doing?
Hey, Bill, you talk with too much common sense. That's the problem.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, if we look at this, we had Ron Wolf and Holmgren. We had McCarthy and Rogers, but the Ron Wolf and Holmgren had 3 Hall of Famers. Then McCarthy and Rogers had 2 Hall of Famers. Now we got the same Hall of Famer, but 1. Now, look at the Super Bowls. The Ron Wolf team, I thought, should have won more. The McCarthy team with all those receivers and everybody else, I thought they should have won more.
Mm-hmm.
And this team, where are they? They're in limbo somewhere. But the whole thing is, why hasn't, through that era all the way to now, why hasn't, there's a dysfunction that seems like almost like you'd say it like a pestilence that sticks with this team, that why haven't they put it all together? And why? What is the common denominator all the time? Why? And, and you can look at this team this year has two problems, like you said. You have players that are not playing tough and hard. Take Jair Alexander, how he pulled up on a couple of tackles last week.
Right.
How? You have that, right? You have this, and people see that, Bill. This is something that's prevalent on this team. But there's a general manager that picks guys that just can't play.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the coach that you have players that are not performing up to the level they should. That's coaching. That's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where is the old saying, well, if you don't perform, I'm going to put your you-know-what on the bench, okay, or on whatever. But, I mean, there's a dysfunction that's been going on this for as long as I can remember through Ted, we know with Ted, bad drafts, only drafting, no free agent. But there's something going on here, and it's really disturbing. It really is. And I can't take much of seeing this coach anymore. I really can't. As far and the defensive coordinator, you talk about not putting people in positions to win. Oh my goodness, this guy's one of the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
I am no longer a defender of Joe Barry. I'll die on the mountain saying I have no idea what the hell mathematically he's thinking in playing soft zone coverage on short yardage situations. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
It's unbelievable.
And you really put your defense in a very tough position and pretty much keeping them on the field and not giving the ball back to your offense. And it's almost like you're playing afraid. And I can't remember the last time I saw a all out, balls out, just aggressive, punch you in the mouth defense coming out of the Green Bay Packers. I can't remember the last time I saw it.
You got to go back to Holmgren's team.
Probably.
You have to.
Yeah. Because even the team in 2000, even the team in 2010, they were not overwhelmingly aggressive. What they were was a very opportunistic team, and they got the ball a lot. They were a team that really created a lot of turnovers. They were aggressive with Clay Matthews coming off the edge and such, and I get that, but they were more opportunistic. They were really good in the secondary about getting picks.
Well, the game they played, we all know the game they played against Seattle, where they were really hitting Wilson and Peppers was and Matthews was, and then all of a sudden they pulled you know what I mean? They called the dogs off. You know what I'm saying?
It's the prevent defense.
So
Yep. All of a sudden, you got a lead, and you're just going to try to keep everything in front of you and allow the team to march down the field.
Bill, listen, where can we get somebody, some coach, something to change the atmosphere here, to change this? This guy isn't, Bill. No one takes him seriously, this guy, anymore. You could say, come on now. I
don't know. One of the things, and Gerard, I got to go to a break. Appreciate the phone call. I look at it this way, and this was put to me. I had mentioned it during the postgame show the other night, and since then, I've gone back and forth via text with a couple people, and I had said it seems like when people say, has LaFleur lost the locker room? I don't know, because I'm not in that locker room. But what I listen to what I do and don't hear. I'm not in that locker room every day like Mike Clemens is, okay? But there are people that I've talked with that have said that they feel like Matt LaFleur's hanging on. Like he's still got it, but he's doing anything and everything he can just to hang on to this locker room. Like you can see it starting to slip away. So he's just hanging on like grim death. So you're trying not to upset the apple cart, get through the season, reset, and then come back strong next year. But right now there's this, he's kind of a soft leader type of thing. And that's about the best I can put it without, divulging secrets, I guess. But the word soft leader was brought up a couple of times. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break, come back. More of this coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Castle or pirate ship or a sports themed bedroom. They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. Good to have you. Hey, this portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Quick Trip. Don't forget about the opening drive contest. Stop in at Quick Trip. You're going to get gas anyway, right? Stop in, type in your Quick Rewards number, which is basically your phone number. Type it in, and you are automatically registered. And come game day, Wayne and Larry, they're going to say the opening drive is going to benefit, bam, and it could be your name. And then for every yard garnered by the Green Bay Packers on that opening drive, you can win a $10 gift card. All adds up. You'll take anything at this point, right? That even makes a great stocking stuffer. So think about it. Stop in a Quick Trip, and you could be getting your name announced during the Packers game on the opening drive and get your. And if they score, by the way, you get a bonus $500. So take that in a heartbeat, right? Good stuff from our friends over there at Quick Trip. This is from Milt, and Milt says, Unit, Matt LaFleur is weak. You can see it on the sidelines. He gets yelled at by Aaron Rodgers. He's been having to massage Rodgers and his ego ever since he walked through the door. Rodgers is such an unbelievably arrogant person. For a quarterback to yell at his coach and his coach to just take it is unacceptable. Goody is also weak. His draft has proven to be dismal. He is slowly wrecking the franchise. Just my opinion. That is Milt in Janesville. Milt, appreciate the email. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, give us a shout. So I still go back to, though, if you want to fast forward, keep it in the now, right? If you keep it in the now and say this coming Sunday, less than a week away, is there any light at the end of your tunnel for the Packers to say, hey, if you get a win, you look at it as you've won 2 out of the last 3. Well, granted, against the Tennessee Titans, specifically down the stretch, you looked ugly. But if you should get a win over Philadelphia, do you look at it as, hey, you've won 2 out of the last 3? You just got to keep playing that kind of football. You can't. And again, Rodgers kept saying, well, we haven't put 4 full quarters together. And they haven't. Because you see it all the time. This team just, for whatever reason, just at times just sucks. Now, again, I cannot go back and unsee. I can't unsee the Detroit game. I can't unsee over in London and what they did and how dismally and ugly they performed. It was terrible. I can't unsee all of that. I agree. But doesn't mean that there can be room for improvement. There can be room for discussion of improvement to where maybe they put a few things together, play some weaker competition. Because if you can get a win in Philly, and then you can get a win in Chicago, okay? Let's just say they can. Then you've stacked a little bit of success. You go into your bye week, you get healthy, you come out with a completely different attitude. Now you've got the stretch run after having a week off. You got 14 days to get yourself ready. Who knows, right? Maybe that's the modicum of hope you need. Now this is from Mike, who says that there's no way. all hope is lost, and this team's not going to get any better until they bring in better personnel and they change some contracts. And then he says, what was the percentage you were talking about quarterbacks making for teams that have actually gone to and won a Super Bowl? No quarterback making more than 13% of his team, and I think it's 13% of his team's total salary cap, has ever won a Super Bowl. You go back to Steve Young from years ago, and I think, was it Brady? I think it was Brady recently. But for the most part, and now with the way the quarterbacks are getting paid, I think eventually somebody's going to get that number up around 14, 15, 16%. But right now, when you look at Rodgers' cap hit, it's 13.25. So he's right at that threshold. But, I mean, between him and David Bakhtiari, they're making what, 43, 41 million between the two of them? And Preston Smith to a certain extent as well, because isn't Preston Smith getting paid like $11 million? So, but Rodgers is 13.25. That I know, because I've looked that up a couple of different times. So there's going to be, and you've got decisions to make on certain guys too. You know, I think this was an ask of when is Dean Lowry's contract going to be up? I don't know when Dean's contract is going to be up, to be honest with you. I think he's got, I think this is it. If I'm not no, this is not it. I think he just signed an extension not that long ago. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is. Maybe it is it. I think this is it, actually. Yeah, this is it. He'll be out from underneath his contract. You've got options, voidable options and such, to where he then becomes an unrestricted free agent after this season. So probably most likely Dean Lowry not going to be back with the team. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout. What do you got, Ben? The U.S. lineup's been announced?
For the soccer, or
for World
as
Cup?
some people call it, football, allegedly.
Yeah, for the World Cup? Okay. Any breaking news there?
I clearly not the right person to ask.
Right.
We could do the old, I say the name and you try to guess where they play.
You
or
know
if
what?
you've ever heard of them in your life.
We'll do this tomorrow. I got a couple of guys that are all soccer all the time that we'll get on the show just to kind of at least give us the thumbnail of what we're looking for, so to speak.
I've heard some tough things about Tim Ream. That's all I know about the team.
All right.
Christian Pulisic.
All right. We'll go in that direction. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll do a little World Cup talk tomorrow. I got a couple of guys that I can give a ring to. We'll get somebody on the phone that's got a great understanding of the World Cup. Yeah. But so the roster has been announced. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. No Clint Dempsey in the starting lineup.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if that's surprising because he's like 50.
Right. Every now and then you need that veteran presence, man. That's the way to go.
Tim Howard.
Tim Howard. Okay. You could have said Tim Allen. I wouldn't have known.
No, he was their goalie 8 years ago, the last time they made it in.
It's funny you talk about that because just as you were talking about that, it was popping up here in the television in studio. So I was watching some of that. There you go. We'll give you a much better breakdown coming up. Give you a better breakdown coming up here tomorrow.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be quite comical to hear our very intense description of how the U.S. can beat Wales today.
Yeah.
Dump and chase.
Okay.
Pucks in deep. Things of that nature.
Gotcha. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, do it. This portion of the program, by the way, brought to you by our good friends over there at Stenny's, Second and National, Walker's Point, and they have shuttles to all the games downtown Milwaukee and even games up in Green Bay, games out in Madison. So all you got to do is stop into Stenny's and even call for some of the details because sometimes they run ticket packages as well. That's our friends at Stenny's, Second and National, Walker's Point. We got more after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers are back after having some time off this weekend. On defense, Green Bay had a number of blown coverages downfield in their 27-17 loss to the Titans last Thursday night. They stopped the run, but not the pass. After 3 seasons in a row of 13 wins or more, I asked safety Adrian Amos about finding themselves now with a record of 4-7 for the year so far.
Every season, they're 13-3, blow everybody out. We got a season like that, and all we can do is try to win out.
When you're playing gaps and you hold Derrick Henry to under 100 yards and biggest carry is 10 yards, does that give the quarterback more time to throw back there?
I don't think so, because like I said, we got a screen that had a big game and then a lot of third downs. You're not playing hard for the run on third down. We just didn't execute on third down.
The Packers slipped into a 5-game losing streak after getting beat by the New York Giants. Matt LaFleur asked if he's had second thoughts about not taking the bye after the trip to London.
Yeah, I think anytime things don't go to the level that you want them to, you got to look at everything critically. And yeah, absolutely, I've wrestled with that. It's a tough lesson, I would say, considering where we're at. But it was the decision that we made, that I made at the time, and what I thought was best for our team. And it's hard to say if that was the right decision.
Up next, the Packers face the Eagles this Sunday night in Philly. The Eagles are 9-1 after beating the Colts, where head coach Nick Sirianni was Indy's offensive coordinator for 3 years before taking the job in Philadelphia.
I'm emotional because I love Frank Reich. He's one of the best damn football coaches I've ever been around. So, yeah, you don't want to know what I think of if he should be here or not, but because you guys can probably imagine what I really think. It was sweet to come here, especially with what happened in this organization in the last couple of weeks, and get the win. The win. We leave in Indianapolis with a win.
That's Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Good to have you back. Hey, say thanks to our friends at Burn Pit BBQ. It's that time of year if you're looking for gift boxes for the barbecuer in your life, or maybe you like it yourself. But now's the time. Get a hold of them. Go to burnpitbbq.com. That is burnpitbbq.com. They sent me one kind of just to show off. I took a picture of it a while ago. But it comes with a bottle of sauce and a rub, and it's got different things in there. If you can order custom boxes, different hot sauces and such. So just go to burnpitbbq.com. Really cool. They can turn it around, have it delivered right to your house the next day or in a couple of days. You can wrap it up and give it to the barbecue lover in your life. And it is supporting a locally owned, veteran-owned business right here in the state of Wisconsin. Good gift idea from our friends at burnpitbbq.com. That's burnpitbbq.com. Good stuff. 877-867-1670. If you want to get a hold of us on the phone line, you can go ahead and do so. This is from Rick. Says Lazard wants to be paid, and I bet he's going to be a Bear next season. They have like $100 million to spend next year. They got a lot of money to spend, no doubt about it. I wouldn't pay Lazard. He's a complimentary piece, but that's the way I would pay him. Beyond that, I'm not paying Lazard. This team's got decisions to make. And I never, ever, ever fault a player for taking the money, for getting the money and getting paid. You hate to see a player leave that's really good and they leave to get a little bit more money to go elsewhere. You hate to see that because you always want to see loyalty to your team and you always want to see a championship be first and foremost in their minds. And for some of these guys, it's not, yeah, you want to win a championship, but it's all about, as they say, taking care of the family for years to come, generations to come. So I understand that. But with this team and where it's at in their financial state, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next year with Rodgers' contract. Because next year, the cap hit is large. And I don't know. It's almost to the point where, you know, some of these guys, quarterbacks specifically, are making so much money that you're looking at the fortification. What you have to do is be a team that's bad. You hit on a draft choice that is a quarterback. You pick up a quarterback along the way. It's a draft choice that's going to give you 4-5 years of viability to be able to fortify the rest of the team around them. And then once it gets to the point where they're going to get really, really, really big money, you know you're not going to win anymore. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It's you're just seeing it where these really high impact deals for quarterback play, they're not garnering championships. You go back to Joe Flacco. You look at guys like Eli Manning after his second stint. Suddenly he started getting the money. That all went out the window. You know, even when Peyton Manning came back, Peyton Manning took less and ended up winning a championship. He was making less than, I think it was 10% of his team's total salary cap. Brady, I think, did it. I think he was the one that did it with 13%, but nobody had done it. Maybe 14. I have to go back and check, but it's like once you get past the 10% mark, it's very rare that you get quarterbacks that win championships. When you've got 10% of your salary, 13, 14% of your salary going to a quarterback, you're not winning championships. Yes, Ben.
Brady was 12.6.
12.6. Okay, there you go.
Peyton Manning was 14.16.
Okay, so he was.
I guess that was 2013, so maybe they lost. Yeah, Brady in 2021 was the highest.
Okay, Brady in 2021 was the highest. Right, but you don't win championships once you start making more than 12, 13% of your team's total salary. It just doesn't happen. Because you end up with patchwork in other areas and in football, we all know you're only as good as your weakest link. And then when you do have good players, you lose that chemistry, you lose the money, you all that stuff. That's why I look at this team and when I've said it before, I'll say it again. I would have put a checkbook in front of Aaron Rodgers and said, here you go. And for every dollar you take is a dollar we can't pay to keep guys around you. You don't have the right to bitch about keeping good players and about way they're treated like commodities when you're like, no, you don't treat us that way. Oh, by the way, I want all the money. You don't do that. And yeah, he took a deal this year because remember when it came out that it was going to be 3 years, $150 million. And remember Rodgers' reaction to that on the Pat McAfee show? He
yes, I do.
That I category. Well, can't remember what he said, but it was so condescending and so arrogant. And it's like, that's exactly what it turned out to be. You know, I still, like, we were all supposed to go, oh, okay. And I'm not blaming Rodgers. He's worth it. He was worth that money. This year, it hasn't turned out to be that way. But, I mean, 4-time MVP, look, he's got a ring. I get it. He's worth that kind of money. But there also comes, pardon the pun, a price to all of that. And the price is that you cannot keep other good players around you. 877-867-1670. We got another 2 hours yet to go. The last hour of the show on a Monday. We got our own Mike Clemens. He's going to be here as well. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up, and it's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin got to work today to start preparing for Saturday's matchup with Minnesota for Paul Bunyan's Axe. That is where interim coach Jim Leonard's attention is focused. However, the school also posted the vacancy for the head coaching position on Saturday night, and reports indicate they plan to remove the interim tag from Leonard's title and make him the full-time coach. That was news to him when he met the media earlier today.
I'm going to have some conversations this week, and hopefully it leads in the direction I want it to go. I got about $20 if I can get some of your sources in here. There's a lot of information I'm hearing, but I haven't been told. So, I'm excited for the opportunity to really lay out my entire vision for the athletic department.
Meanwhile, senior running back Ches Malusi and senior quarterback Alexander Smith announced today that they will take advantage of their COVID year and return for another season at Wisconsin next year. Again, it'll be the Badgers and Gophers on Saturday. Minnesota currently has the Axe after beating Wisconsin last year. Kick is at 2:30. Turning to the Packers, they will be back to work today, getting ready for a trip to face 9-1 Philadelphia on Sunday. Green Bay just 4-7, likely needs to win its final 6 games to have any chance to make the playoffs.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucs are back in action tonight as they take on Portland at Fiserv Forum. Trailblazers off to a 10-6 start. Milwaukee 11-4. Tip is at 7. And the Badgers making their way to the Bahamas today. It's where they're going to take part in the battle for Atlantis starting Wednesday against Dayton. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heinel, Pritt.
Hour number 3 of the Bill Michaels Show on this Monday. Good to have you on board today. This portion of the program brought to you by our buddy Scott Ellis with Homeside Financial. Scott's a great guy. He is the guy that turned it around for me when I wanted to refi the house. Got it all done. If you're looking to purchase a new home, I know it's not usually the time of year that you do it, but people certainly start thinking about it. Selling a new home, you want to get fast pre-approval ratings and such. Go to my buddy Scott Ellis with Homeside Financial. He's the guy that, like I said, got me out from underneath my mortgage originally, refinanced the house, did an outstanding job. He was available pretty much at any point in time. Or maybe you want to, get some of the home equity right now. You can still do that with some good benefits before the end of year. And especially this time of season, you can get the cash to pay off, debts and such. Or coming out of the holiday season, some things that you want to do. If you have some credit score issues, it's okay. Scott has years of experience helping people with lower credit scores. All you got to do is call him 414-791-7771. 414-791-7771. I had a couple of people that reached out to me that said, hey, they asked me about that, about the credit score that wasn't above 700. And I said, you know what? I've known Scott to get people done that was in the low 600s and even in the upper 500s to get them done. So no reason not to call. 414-791-7771. 414-791-7771. Or you can go to ScottEllisTeam.com. ScottEllisTeam.com. ELLIS. ScottEllisTeam.com. And see for yourself. Good stuff there. This is Rick says, Bill, I think even if the Packers ran the table, those losses to New York, Washington are going to end up costing them if they end up tied with any one of those teams. There's no doubt, Rick, that they have dug themselves a ginormous hole, without a doubt. I'm not denying. And I said, look, when they lost the other day against Tennessee, I said, it's over. Season's over. If Wayne Larrivee was, if we had Wayne Larravee's voice to yell, there is your dagger, that was your dagger, in my opinion. Over the weekend, I will say I love Packers fans, always have, always will. I'm one of them. I was at I talked about it at the beginning of the show. I was at a Friendsgiving yesterday. They have it early, at the same time every year, the week before actual Thanksgiving, and a big group of friends get together. There's probably about 30 people yesterday. And the talk was, one, how bad the team has been, two, how bad Rodgers has been, how bad that thumb is or isn't hurt. And then the last thing was, but if they get a win, and then it kind of goes on from there. Hope springs eternal pretty much all the time. So I'm not going to, constantly throw the bucket of cold water on it. I live in a reality where I've said before, and I'll say it again, I can't unsee Detroit. I can't unsee New York over in London. I can't unsee Washington. Those were just pitifully bad games by the Packers. But there's nothing to say you can't suddenly have everything click and it turn a little bit of time away. You get a couple of wins here. You get to a bye week. Guys come back rejuvenated, feeling good. And then it all, kind of materializes. Who knows? Can it happen? Sure. Could it? Is it out of the realm of possibility? No, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's unlikely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I would never say it's completely 110% impossible unless it's mathematically done. But I agree with you. I mean, this is a team that's dug themselves such an incredibly deep hole that I don't foresee them getting out of it. But if you have that hope going into this next game, if they lose in Philadelphia, while they will still be, I think at that point in time, somewhat mathematically alive, I think if they lose in Philadelphia, it's, I look at it now as they're pretty much, they went from, put it this way, in the standings in the NFC, they dropped from 9th to 12th with the loss. Detroit is now ahead of them. In case you didn't know. Arizona, as bad as Arizona stinks, Arizona is ahead of them. Atlanta, the Falcons are ahead of them. Washington is ahead of them. San Francisco, we were still waiting to see what happens with San Francisco tonight. They're ahead of them. And then obviously the Giants with seven wins, Cowboys 7 wins. Tampa Bay right now is at 5-5. They're a 500 team and they're leading their division. And as of right now, they're in the postseason. Philadelphia obviously is going to win their division, most likely, we'll say. Minnesota is going to win the North. Seattle is battling. I cannot stand Pete Carroll. That gum-chewing, jaw-smacking, that guy has been, he has been a thorn in the side and a pain in the ass and smug and arrogant and everything else that goes along with it. But Ben, that has got to be one of the better coaching jobs this year, correct?
Yeah. Almost more importantly, a better drafting job.
Yeah.
If they trade Russell Wilson, they find 2 tackles, they find a tight end. Like they rebuilt their defense in like a year.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Like they're actually talented now.
Yeah. It has been an incredible job by Seattle to remain relevant. And I got to say, I think even with San Francisco getting a win, if they get a win tonight, I still think Seattle's going to end up winning that division. It's 2 teams, San Francisco and Seattle, and that's it. Arizona stinks. They're terrible. The Rams are awful. Oh, my God, the Rams are so bad. Such a bad team. There's speculation about whether or not Matthew Stafford's even going to – whether he's going to retire at the end of the season. Sean McVay quitting at the end of the season and such. So a lot of speculation out there out west. But it's – I'll tell you this, man. Pete Carroll's done a magnificent job this season, without a doubt. 877-867-1670. So one more loss by the Packers to put them at 4-8. They will then be down there with Chicago, Carolina, New Orleans, the Rams. That's it. They're already there, but they're kind of the best of the worst record-wise right now. But they're right now, out of 16 teams in the NFC, they're 12th. And they are fading fast. What's helped them is the fact that you've got Washington creeping a couple of wins, Atlanta creeping a couple of wins, the Giants lose, the Cowboys got to win, but if the Cowboys would have lost, it would have been 6 wins. It would have put them a little bit lower to where maybe the Packers could catch them. But right now, I mean, it's almost insurmountable. It's almost insurmountable. I think their percentage to win in the NFC is like, it's like 14% or 12% to even make it to the postseason at this point. 877-867-1670. Find us, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. By the way, going to college football, the odds to win the NCAA championship this year, Georgia coming in right now at 5-7. Ohio State, number 2 at 5-2. 10-1 is Michigan. 14-1 is TCU. 20-1, Clemson, USC, LSU, Oregon, North Carolina, and then Tennessee. Tennessee and North Carolina are pretty much off the board, by the way. Tennessee not looking good this past weekend, obviously. Caleb Williams looks to be right now. Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud are the 2 guys that are looking as far as favorites to win the Heisman. Then after that, Blake Corum. You could possibly go in that direction. Bo Nix. But I believe Bo Nix. Everybody else pretty much off the board at this point. You got Blake Corum, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams. Those are the 3 guys. You get a few other guys that will probably be asked to come to New York, but they don't have a shot. So that's kind of where things stand right now in regards to the Heisman Trophy. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Michael says it's going to be maybe a 6-win team at best. Jan says the Packers are done. Put a fork in them, just like the turkey this Thursday. Greg says there's no way in hell the Green Bay Packers beat Philadelphia. They're going to get dump trucked by 30. Stanley says I have a little bit of faith in the Green Bay Packers, but only if the quarterback pulls his head out of his rear end, I'll say, and plays up to his capability. This is from Jason, who says, how long is Rodgers going to continue to lie about the thumb and put himself and his own statistics ahead of the team? And then Carol says, Brian Gutekunst has to go, is killing this team with bad draft choices. There you go. Michael says, at least we got a good draft choice coming at this point. Well, then again, you got to do something with it, right? And the drafts, they haven't necessarily been the strong suit of the Green Bay Packers. Now, for a while, I looked at it and thought, yeah, you know what? When you look at the Brian Gutekunst in the draft, and I think in all fairness here, early on, Jair Alexander, obviously, tremendous pick. After that, you really thought that Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equinemius St. Brown, they'd hang on and then they would continue to grow. And it just really, those two draft choices never materialized. And the fact that you have only one player left from 2018, that is, when your life's blood is the draft and what you rely upon, you don't trade a lot of draft choices away. You hang on to those things. You're trading back constantly, always getting more bites at the apple. I hate to use that, but pardon the pun. You're to not have anybody left but Jair out of the 2018 draft is almost, when you had 11 or 12 guys, it was almost unforgivable, right? Go back to the Kevin King year of 2017. You have Aaron Jones left. That's it. So out of the 2017-2018 draft, you have 2 players left on this team. Oh, my God. Now, the 2019 draft, you kind of hit. You found 3 really solid players, although people would disagree regarding Darnell Savage at this point, but you got Rashawn Gary, Savage, and Elton Jenkins. They're still contributors. Sternberger, 3rd-round draft choice, gone. Kingsley Keke, gone. Kadar Holman, Ty Summers, Dexter Williams, Ty Summers, but gone. So again, 2017, 2018, 2019, you have how many? Count them with me. 5 players out of those drafts. 3 years worth of drafts, you have 5 players remaining. Think about that. Man, that kills you. Because this is when these guys should be coming up, getting ready for those contracts, re-signing these guys. This is, man, this is where that they now come to fruition, and instead it has killed you. So I'm not, I'll hold my breath when it comes to the NFL draft, but man, those are the things that just kill a franchise. I mean, kill a franchise. What is it? Abdo says, why do the Packers as an organization always keep players longer than they should at key positions? Like who? If anything, they've let them go early. Who would they? But right now, there's 2 players they've kept for a long period of time. One is Rodgers, and clearly because he's coming off of back-to-back MVPs and such. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. You hang on to those guys like grim death. The only other guy that I would say you've hung on to has been David Bakhtiari. Can we all agree that giving him that other contract and that extension for Aaron Jones has worked out, right? Kevin says, don't forget 2017. But no, that was Ted Thompson's draft. I get it. But what I'm saying is when your life's blood is the draft, and you go back over three years, you combine those 3 years, 17, 18, and 19, you got a total of 5 guys left. That's recent history, man. That hurts. Go to 2020. You got Jordan Love, who doesn't play. A.J. Dillon, who is okay. Josiah DeGuara, really, you don't use him. You got Kamal Martin and John Runyon's been solid. After that, Kamal Martin, Jake Hansen, Stepaniak, Vernon Scott, Jonathan Garvin. Not much there. Kylan Hill, you let go of. Isaiah McDuffie in 2021 has been solid. Cole Van Lannon, gone. Shamar Jean-Charles, seeing a little bit of time. TJ Slayton shows flashes, but not consistent. Royce Newman looked like he was on skates this year. Amari Rodgers, gone. There's Josh Myers, backup, or your starting center. So you've got a little bit of an impact there, and this year has yet to completely play out. But you're not fine. Your impact player out of all of this, your big impact player, I would probably say go back to 2019 where you got Elton Jenkins and Rashawn Gary. Both of those guys have been impact players for you. Jair, you got one guy, Jair out of 2018. And this year is yet to be really told. You got Mason Crosby. Yeah, you're right. Mason Crosby's been around. But when your life's blood is a draft, man, and that's all you got to show for it, that sets franchises back big time, no doubt. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Social House. One of the bars I was telling you about when you talk about some of the bars that are opening up for the World Cup, that bar is not only a football bar, a baseball bar, a basketball bar, but they're a soccer bar as well. And that is a good place to go if you want to watch some of the World Cup. Right there on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. Dan Della, soccer guys. Kids love soccer. They have some soccer jerseys up there as well. They have local soccer teams that go in there pretty consistently. Stop by Social House. They're going to have the World Cup on. You better believe it. Social House, H-A-U-S on Lisbon Road in Menominee Falls. We'll be back right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Hey, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at New Mail Medical, treating guys with ED all over state of Wisconsin and all over the country, for that matter, as they continue to grow. Check out our friends at Newman. Doesn't matter where you're listening to us, 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. Give them a shout, and they can help you out with ED, low T treatments. If you're feeling moody, sluggish, tired, if you're starting to put on a little bit of poundage, so to speak, they can help you out there. It only takes you about 10 minutes. Stop in and you can get your numbers checked, or the all-in-one weight loss program, supplements and such for you. Get you eating healthy and put you on some vitamins and such, make you feel better. An all-new you going into 2023. That's what they're shooting for. Call them 414-455-4451. Again, 414-455-4451. That is the New Mail Medical Center. This was from Cassidy. Cassidy says the Green Bay Packers are doomed as long as Aaron Rodgers and that big contract is sitting there. You can only afford to keep so many players, and if you're going to rely on Gutekunst to put us over the top via the draft, it's not going to happen. Look at the track record. This is a team that at this point in time is simply doomed. Boy, a lot of gloom and doom today. Man, a lot of gloom and doom today.
People should get excited. The U.S. is playing soccer, something they have excelled at throughout history.
Seeking their first World Cup win versus, UEFA since 2014. There you go. Since 2014. I'm giddy. 877-867-1670. If you got something to say, say it. Phone lines wide open at this point. We got some stock up and stock down. Coming after the bottom of the hour, so stay tuned for that. Let's go to Mark, listening to us in Milwaukee. Mark, how you doing today, buddy? What's going on?
Good, Bill. Good day to be out here delivering the mail.
There you go.
I got a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a question. Two questions, actually. If we are doing so poorly at drafting guys, why don't we have the people that do well, draft in our organization? And my second question is, if, say, once the Packers are mathematically out of the playoffs, do we start benching starters and letting some of the other guys, play in their positions?
Yeah. Do you start with Jordan Love? Do you start seeing what Jordan Love can give you?
Pretty much. That was my question.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Boy, that's a great question. Appreciate it, man. 877-867-1670. Let's start looking at this, okay? If you get mathematically eliminated, this is probably what I can foresee happening. Going back to his question, would you start sitting guys? I don't know if I'm necessarily sitting guys, but if you're nicked up in any way, shape, or form, yeah. It's not that you're sitting guys. It's you're like, go get healthy. Go. Like with Rodgers, if you got a bad thumb, let the thumb heal. It's not like you're on some kind of an Iron Man streak like Brett Favre was on. You're not. Go let the thumb get healthy. And then, what's right for the organization is to see what you got. See what Jordan Love does down the stretch, right? Now, will that happen? Will Rodgers acquiesce to that? Well, then that's where, you've got to talk again about massaging of egos. But it wouldn't kill you to let Jordan Love have another crack, so to speak. You're trying to find out, one, what he has. You know behind closed doors what he has. You know that he has this ability to understand the offense and all that kind of stuff. But what you're looking at is you're looking at whether or not he has trade value. Right? That's ultimately what we're talking about here. Does he have trade value? Is he the guy to lead the team moving forward? Do you then move on at some point if Rodgers says, yeah, I'm going to go? Because you got a decision to make. Because if you're going to pay Jordan Love and you're going to extend that contract out of that rookie deal, you're going to owe him and Aaron Rodgers come the next season, not next year, but the year after, a boatload of money together. A boatload of money. And I don't think he can do that. So you're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not Jordan Love's the real deal. And then, other guys, obviously, of course, you're going to start weaving them in there a little bit more. But that's the number one thing you got to figure out, because you traded up to get this guy. This is the guy that set in motion a lot of angry things, right? 877-867-1670. Matt says, you said Rodgers' salary avoids retaining good players. The Bills, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Cowboys, the only team they didn't retain their quarterback at a crazy price is those with Brady. Not Rodgers' fault. Signed him and then went dumb. Fire Goody. Right. Okay. Well, let's see if the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs had to get rid of Tyreek Hill. Matt, what's your point? I mean, they couldn't afford Tyreek Hill. They couldn't afford to pay to pay a lot of the salary they had on some of those guys, including Tyreek Hill. They decided to go in a different direction, and they couldn't afford everybody, so Tyreek Hill was the casualty, right? I mean, you've got Patrick Mahomes this year. His cap hit is 35.7. He's making 17.16% of his team's total salary, right? Travis Kelce making, $8 million? Orlando Brown is making 16.6. Chris Jones, a big defensive tackle, is making 30. Yeah, once you pay a quarterback $30 million, that's a chunk of change. So I never said you can't field a team. What I said is a quarterback that's making more than 13.5% of their team's total salary, you're not winning Super Bowls. You're still a good team, but you're not winning Super Bowls because you're missing that piece or two because you can't afford to keep that whole group together. If they do it and they get the win, they'll be the first team to ever have a quarterback making more than 14.5% of their team's total salary to win a Super Bowl. Ever. It hasn't ever been done before. Now, like I said, as salaries continue to escalate for quarterbacks to ridiculous numbers, eventually it's going to happen because the numbers are getting so crazy. But as long as you get a good rookie or two that come into the league every year and already has a good team around them, and you can afford to put additional pieces around that good rookie or the guy in his second year, you're going to see more and more of those younger quarterbacks have legitimate shots at going deep into the postseason if they get a little bit of experience. Why? Because they have good players in a lot of different areas because they're only making a few $1,000,000 a year. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Lee listening to us in Auburndale. Lee, how you doing today? What's going on?
Hey, Bill. Doing good. Great show as always. Hey, I was just kind of sitting back this last week and a half. Felt really good after the Dallas win because I said, you know what? Maybe they finally figured out something. Maybe they finally turned a corner. But I got to tell you, I've sat back and watched a few other games, specifically the 49er Charger game, watching Buffalo, watching Kansas City play. And there's something that I'm putting my thumb on, and I'm watching these teams play. And, man, everybody is just faster than Green Bay, than the team that they're putting out there. They're attacking offense, defense. They're attacking. They're moving quickly. Everybody's swarming to the ball, sure tackling. Yes, they might give up a big play here or there, but there's no fear in these teams, right? They go after it. And when you watch the Packers play, it's always the same thing. It's this, I didn't know my assignment, miscommunication. I wasn't in the right spot. He thought he was going to go here and there. And I go back to this coaching thing of, all right, what is the issue here, guys? Because you have this whole off-season program. You got all these preseason games. You got to figure this out. Like, this shouldn't be a Week 12 issue where you don't know what your assignments are. You're living and breathing in this playbook, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's your job.
Right.
The other thing, I kind of sat back and was looking at this, trying to, sip the whiskey glass half full, right?
Right.
And you watch everybody, all the players, and I'm old enough to remember the Lynn Dickey years and, the Magic Man years. And I was a kid when that happened, but I see this, and I'm not old, but I'm not young. But every player is like celebrating, oh, I got a first down. Great, happy. I'm like, dude, get back to the huddle. You're 4-7. Get your butts going and do something. I don't need to see a celebration after a first down or a big tackle. you guys, where's your head at?
Right.
Where's your mind in the game and your focus? Because I got to tell you, a coworker of mine made a great point. Christian Watson, you're having a rough year. You do this finger pointing, 1, 2, 3 touchdowns. Why don't you use the other 2 to catch the damn ball? Come on.
Yeah.
It's you're dropping passes left and right. I don't know if these players coming up now, if they're not in this mental headspace the way that they should. And if that's on the coaching, maybe that's what I'm seeing out of Buffalo and Kansas City, the 49ers, the Chargers. At least the Chargers go down swinging. Green Bay is like, a 4-day-old fish fry.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Don't touch it.
We've seen, and appreciate the phone call. I'm really, really late for a break, but we have seen time and again where aggressiveness versus the non-aggressiveness has come into play, and we have seen a lot this year where it looks as if the Packers are not the aggressor. The Packers have been more so, they're the ones that are saying, just play safe. And I think, honestly, I think more of that's coaching than anything. 877-867-1670. Got to take a quick break. We're woefully late. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Life's about taking the road less traveled, and doing it in style, well, that makes it even better. Take the Tahoe. This November, Potawatomi is giving away not 1, but 2 Chevy Tahoes. Just play with your club card and you could win a brand new Chevy Tahoe or your share of over $400,000 in cash and prizes. Your win is waiting. Take the Tahoe. Only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/Tahoe for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you on board. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Buzzard Billy's in La Crosse. Great place to go and grab yourself some good food, obviously, and you go to the Starlight Lounge upstairs. You get a good beverage. You kind of take a trip back in time, but the whole place right there is fantastic. The NFLPA has called for an immediate ban of what they call slit firm turf. I don't know all the difference, to be honest with you. There's 3 different types of turf. There's dual fiber, there's the monofilament, and then slit firm. The slit firm turf has been proven, at least, that more players have been injured on that specific field more than any other. And the rate of injury for the slit firm turf is on the rise. I don't know what the difference is. From what I understand, slit firm turf is this. It's fibers that are created from a single piece of flat plastic, which then creates, quote, a canopy over the infill. Okay? Each fiber from this rake-shaped design is constructed to break down, which means that over time, it becomes a softer structure underneath. Now, I don't know what all that means. But statistically, they say there are certain fields, even in the college ranks, that are slit firm turf fields that have proven to create more injuries than the other turf fields. So there you go. And again, I don't know the specifics, but the NFLPA is now calling for an immediate ban of these slit firm stadiums, and they say 6 teams currently use them. I don't know which ones. This is just kind of like semi-happening, so to speak, and it's becoming a big deal. And I know that ESPN is doing a whole like an expose on this stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the breaking news. Other than the fact that Melvin Gordon's been waived. Melvin Gordon, former Badger, is now out in the open market. He was let go. The one thing, the way I understand it is that while he has been waived, any team that would take him off of waivers right now would take the rest of that contract, including $863,000 in fully guaranteed base salary and $102,000 in per game active roster bonuses. So any team that claims him off of waivers would automatically eat that for about $1 million, basically, for, a half a season. So Melvin Gordon now on the open market. We shall see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Yes, by the way, Daniel says, doesn't Ford Field have that slit turf? I believe they do. I think that is one of the fields that they have stated. They say it's slit film turf. No, I'm reading the story right here. The NFLPA calls for the immediate replacement and ban from slit firm, FIRM turf fields. Taylor, so I don't know what you're talking about, but they call them slit firm. I'm reading the story right out of Fox Sports. Slit firm, dual fiber, and monofilament are the three different types. That's what they're saying. So I'm only going by what I'm reading. So either they're wrong and all the reports are wrong, or you're wrong. Check again. 877-867-1670. Time up for some stock up and stock down. Let's get to that, shall we? Let's do some of that, Ben, here for a few minutes.
Next.
You want to do it next?
Yeah, we're running
Okay.
up against
We're
it.
up against it. Okay, we'll do it next. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at J&L Tire. Say hi to Lyle and the gang. They're right off of 94 in the Johnson Creek area at the Johnson Creek exit, as a matter of fact. And whether you're driving around in a minivan, SUV, regular sedan, coupe, whatever it happens to be, or a big rig, they've got the facilities for all of them. They can take care of all your needs right there. That's J&L Tire, Goodyear dealer. You can see it from the highway right there at the Johnson Creek exit, just north of 94. Stop in and tell them we said hi. And they do a ton of charitable work in the community. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers had the weekend off after losing to the Titans 27-17 on Thursday Night Football. After the game, Aaron Rodgers admitted he missed some key throws to a wide-open Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard late in the fourth quarter.
I missed a couple throws for sure.
What happened on that third down to Lazard?
Yeah, I couldn't see exactly where the ball was. Had some people in my face, but I feel like I probably should hit that one.
What happened on the one to Sammy?
Yeah, I just missed the throw. I don't know. I got to go back and look at it. I feel like fundamentally I was, in a good spot, but just didn't have the same type of consistent grip the same way. I threw a lot of kind of wobblers tonight.
Rodgers has been dealing with a thumb injury on his right hand. He suffered week 5 against the Giants. Since then, the Packers have gone 1-6. How much has it affected his accuracy? Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
I know he's battling through it. He's made some really great throws, and then he's missed some throws. And I think that's the life of a quarterback in this league. You're never going to be perfect. You look at that corner route that he threw to Cobby. That was a hell of a throw. I think there were a couple that certainly he'd like to have back.
So the Packers head to Philly to play the 9-1 Eagles on Sunday night. At 4-7, Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb was asked if he's ever been on a team that had that kind of record and still made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, we were 4-6 one year. When I was in Dallas, we were fighting every week to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, we didn't. There's a lot of things to lean on, but I think at the end of the day, it's about finding a way to just win a game. And we're not doing that enough.
That's Randall Cobb. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back. Big week down in Waukesha. They have the remembrance today. They have the service down there, and going on a year since the tragedy. And I encourage you to get down to Waukesha, not just to support our friends at the Nice Ash, but all the businesses. As Joette and the gang at the Nice Ash want me to remind you that there's a lot of businesses in downtown Waukesha that are small business. And if you're going to, head out for whether Christmas gifts or maybe to have a drink or a sandwich or something, keep supporting our friends in downtown Waukesha. And coming up in a few weeks, they have the Christmas parade. So which should be an emotional time down there to do it 1 year after the tragedy. So keep encouraging those of you and those around you to head down to downtown Waukesha and check out Waukesha as they stay Waukesha strong. So keep moving forward. 877-867-1670. Time now for Stock Up and Stop Down. Let's do this.
It's time for Stock Up, Stock Down.
The key feature here is speed, trying to follow what's going on in the market so that we can anticipate and catch trends as they occur.
From this week of football.
All right, Stock Up. It was a loss, but I think in a loss, they garnered at least some positivity. They went toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeff Saturday wins his first game against the Las Vegas Raiders, and then they go toe-to-toe at home with the Eagles. At least they've got a little bit of life in Indianapolis. I'll say some stock up there as they fell by 17-16 yesterday at the Lucas Oil Stadium. Ben, give me yours.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni after the game, a lot of talk about how angry he is that Frank Reich was fired. So that meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, Packers Eagles coming up. It's another kind of football, Bill, but Qatar's not selling beer. And I can't imagine sitting through any of those soccer matches, let alone being Budweiser having paid multiple millions of dollars to be the official beer of a dry event.
Yeah, that's well, you know what? Around the world, though, I'm sure there's a lot of people hoisting a lot of Budweisers, Bud Lights, and all that kind of good stuff towards soccer. So, I'm sure they're drinking somewhere. I'm going to go stock down yet again. How bad do you have to suck in Denver to lose to the Raiders? Russell Wilson, again, can get it done. They can't get over the 20 mark. Much like the Green Bay Packers, they can't get more than 20 points. 22-16, they fall to the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday, and they just look awful. As we mentioned, Melvin Gordon has been waived. Russell Wilson, 24 of 31, 247 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Meanwhile, Derek Carr threw a couple of touchdown passes. Devontae Adams caught both of them, one being a 35-yarder. So Devontae at least feeling a little bit, albeit the targets were somewhat off. 13 targets, only 7 catches. But still, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 35-yarder. He and Derek Carr still have that connection. But, man, how bad you got to be in Denver to lose to the Raiders? Stock down.
Do you know how many times the Broncos have given up 20 points this season?
Not often.
Once.
They're a pretty good defense. They just can't score. Their offense sucks. And Russell Wilson was nowhere near the answer. He's been, if anything, he's proven to be more problematic than anything with that organization.
Yeah, and Hackett gave up play calling duties for this matchup. Didn't really change much.
Nope.
Going over to another sport with a smaller ball. My guy Adam Svensson, the Canadian Bill, big breakthrough win, defeating my other guy Sahith Thagala. Pretty electric finish. Brian Harmon couldn't pull the trigger. It looked like he had the yips, but he was, ripping eagles down the stretch. A lot of fun yesterday.
Gotcha.
For people like me.
All right. Okay. Go with that. Stock down. I'll stick in that realm. Let's go with the Rams. Rams again beaten the defending champions without Von Miller, without OBJ, without Whitworth. It must have been those 3 guys propelling that team forward. But again, they get beat. They go on the road. They lose in New Orleans, get beat by the Saints 27-20. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about OBJ wanting to come back and play football this year and be reunited with the Rams. But why? Oh, my God, why? Why would you come back and be a part of that mess right now? He still has not, by the way, passed any kind of a physical, just an FYI. But still, oh, my God, the Rams, again, stock down. They get just drilled 27-20, and they continue to suck swamp water. Hey, they got a giant ring, no doubt about it. And by the way, I wanted to ask you this. This is from Jack, who said, is it karma coming back to bite Matthew Stafford after watching the photographer fall off the back of the stage and basically turn his back on her? He created negative juju for that team. I don't know. It's a good question. He did pay her medical bills, by the way, and is still paying for her therapy, but I don't know. Good question. Stock down. There you go. Ben,
Bill?
what else? Yeah.
Bill, how do you spell fraud? Can you help me out there?
You want to tell me? I'm going to go with Michigan.
Oh, I'm actually not going there. I think Michigan wins this weekend. No, the Minnesota Vikings, Bill, they're 8-2 with a negative point differential. All of the water, all the bad water finally found its level, and the Cowboys dump trucked them. Michigan, listen, this is Big Ten Ben speaking. Illinois is a good team, and that was always kind of a weird upset spot. I'm still in on Michigan coming up this weekend.
You think Michigan's going to get the win?
I do.
At Ohio State?
I do.
I'm nervous.
I had a weird gut feeling last year, and I have a similar feeling this year.
Yeah, I do too. After watching both teams play, though, I tend to look at both teams looking forward to this game. I know Illinois is good. Don't get me wrong, but Illinois went toe-to-toe with Michigan at Michigan, whereas Ohio State was on the road, and they just looked like we're just going to go to Maryland, and we just want to get this thing over with so we can get back and start concentrating on Michigan. So both teams got somewhat of a scare, but I think it was more of an egregious scare by Michigan being at home to go toe-to-toe rather than Ohio State to be on the road. But Ohio State played awful. The first half of that game, they were awful. And I kept thinking to myself, if they play like this against Michigan, they're going to take an ass beating. because Michigan will beat them up. But I'm going to hang steadfast right now. I think Ohio State at home, they get the win. I think everything they've been doing has been gearing up for this game, and I think they are salivating over getting Michigan in the shoe this coming weekend. So we'll see. I do have stock up. I'll go with the Cowboys. They get the bounce back. Mike McCarthy, they go into Minnesota. Mike McCarthy knows Minnesota and the Vikings extremely well after his time with the Green Bay Packers. And you talk, like you said, you talk about dump trucking them. Holy mackerel in that game, they dump trucked them. Woof. Woof. Dalvin Cook, only 72 yards. They held him steadfast. In the meantime, Pollard and Elliott rushed for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday. Zeke having both of them. Dak Prescott played well. He threw for 2 at a quarterback rating of 139.3. They pretty much stymied Kirk Cousins and company, and that staunch defense led by Zadarius Smith couldn't do a damn thing. And by the way, the Vikings yesterday were 9.1% on third down. That's it. 9.1. Whoa. Another hour yet to go. Mike Clemens going to join us. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin got to work today to start preparing for Saturday's matchup with Minnesota for Paul Bunyan's Axe. That is where interim coach Jim Leonard's attention is focused. However, the school also posted a vacancy for the head coaching position on Saturday night, and reports indicate they plan to remove the interim tag from Leonard's title and make him the full-time coach. That was news to him when he met the media earlier today.
I'm going to have some conversations this week, and hopefully it leads in the direction I want it to go. I got about $20 if I can get some of your sources in here. There's a lot of information I'm hearing, but I haven't been told. So, I'm excited for the opportunity to really lay out my entire vision for the athletic department.
Meanwhile, senior running back Chez Malusi and senior quarterback Alexander Smith announced today that they will take advantage of their COVID year and return for another season at Wisconsin next year. Again, it'll be the Badgers and Gophers on Saturday. Minnesota currently has the Axe after beating Wisconsin last year. Kick is at 2:30. Turning to the Packers, they will be back to work today, getting ready for a trip to face 9-1 Philadelphia on Sunday. Green Bay just 4-7, likely needs to win its final 6 games to have any chance to make the playoffs.
Mutual Assurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
All business owners want the same thing, to make their business succeed. At Rural Mutual, they help that happen. As the 3rd largest writer of commercial business in Wisconsin, they take the time to learn your business so they can properly protect you. Call your local agent today or visit ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Assurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs are back in action tonight as they take on Portland at Fiserv Forum. Trailblazers off to a 10-6 start. Milwaukee 11-4. Tip is at 7. And the Badgers making their way to the Bahamas today. It's where they're going to take part in the battle for Atlantis starting Wednesday against Dayton. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Pritt.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad you're with us today. Thanks, as always, on this beautiful Monday. Short week. Thanksgiving coming up on a Thursday. Best of on Friday. Don't forget, immediately following the Packers and the Eagles coming up on Sunday, we've got the Green and Gold postgame show on many of these same stations. I have posted it a couple of times. I'll continue to do it. Download the app, WOZN, The Zone Madison. And if you haven't done so already, get us there after the game. And you can always watch us over on the Bud Light live stream as well, which has become a popular way to catch the program also. So we say thanks to everybody for watching us there. This one's from Mark, who says, if you had your choice between these 4, which would you want to see go to a Super Bowl? He says Dallas, Minnesota, Philadelphia, or Seattle. Well, that's an easy one. That's an easy one for you, Ben, because you're from Philly. But as a Packers fan, Dallas, Philadelphia, Minnesota, or Seattle? I'd probably have to go Philadelphia myself, though, and here's the reason why. Because 1, the Dallas Cowboys are the hated Dallas Cowboys. 2, there's no way you can root for the Vikings. 3, Pete Carroll, as good a job as we praised him for doing this season with the Seattle Seahawks. No. So Philadelphia, I have no other affinity to. I have no hatred for. I have no fan disgust for. So I would go with Philadelphia if that's going to be my choices.
Wasn't there a time way back when you were unhappy with how the city climbed polls after the Super Bowl? Were you a anti-party on the streets?
No, I don't think I was I? I think it's
that was a question.
No, me, no. I don't think I ever was. Fans are going to be fans as long as you're not destroying stuff. I'm okay with that. And let's be honest, one of the best, most drunken yet decorated rants ever after a championship win came from the Philadelphia Eagles. Correct?
That is correct.
So,
I also forgot to note this. I think the biggest stock down of the day is the men's national team. Speaking of rants and speeches, they had Sylvester Stallone voiceover a hype video, which I just cannot get behind.
I get it. He has portrayed the underdog hopeful for a very long time throughout his career. I get it. But he's got, the Tulsa King, man. He's got the comeback going on right now. The Tulsa King.
Like, I mean this in the best way.
Yes.
But I think it's time for him to retire.
He, it's funny because when they show him like in an interview or walking on the street, he looks like death. And then he comes back and he's in a movie and it's like, how much have they made this guy up to come back and look good? And don't forget, he always puts actors around him when he's standing in certain situations where he's like on a box and everybody else is standing on the ground. So he's looking them eye to eye because the guy's only like 5'2", 5'5", right? He's not a big dude by any stretch of the imagination. And I saw him one time at Super Bowl years and years and years ago. And he's wearing like platform. It's almost like he's wearing like Kiss boots, to make him close to 5'8", 5'10". I was like, wow, that guy's wearing some. That guy's wearing some serious lifts. Brett says, well, it's time to get out of the power rankings of football. Let's go to the power rankings of Thanksgiving dishes. So,
oh no.
No, because everybody does Thanksgiving different. I'm kind of a traditionalist in the sense of, turkey, potatoes, some corn, green beans, a little bit of applesauce with some cinnamon on it, and then get to the pie. Call it a day. I go in that direction. I know some people do the sweet potato pies, the sweet potatoes. Then there's the cranberry discussion, the canned or the fresh. I can't eat. Once I saw my daughter being born and the afterbirth came out, I can't eat cranberries the rest of my life. I'm done. So that's it. So let's not even go down that road. It's just
also, Bill, remember the avian flu has affected turkeys throughout the country.
Right.
That's why the prices are up and there's a shortage. So
now here's
the story is much larger than everyone's favorite side dish.
Yeah. Here's the thing is that they say the prices are really high. I was at Woodman's the other day. I didn't notice the prices outrageously high. Somebody told me they paid $72 for a turkey. I'm like, what? How big was your turkey? I don't think you pay that much for one of the turkeys in the Macy's Day for Parade, for God's sakes. I have no idea. I ordered one from, as a matter of fact, I got to pick it up tomorrow from Paul Roberts Specialty Meats. But everybody's telling me how outrageous turkeys were. And I was walking through the aisle because I do my own grocery shopping. I was walking through the aisles the other day and I noticed people with turkeys. So I went over to the back of the place. It's a little bit higher than what it normally is, but it's not crazy. It's not the way some people were making it out to be, unless, of course, you're just, wherever it is you're at, you're running out of turkeys, which, by the way, I know there's this Christmas tree shortage. We were talking about this the other day, and I'm trying to find a place that's open tomorrow to go get a Christmas tree. I don't want to fight people on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So I'd like to see if I can't pick one up tomorrow after I get off the air. If there's an area in the Waukesha area or Milwaukee or Racine or Kenosha or Ozaukee County area, I'm trying to find a Christmas tree, and preferably a farm where you can cut it down. So I know it's relatively fresh because it's got to last a pretty long time. But because I did not know that the ones that they cut from Canada They cut them in the summertime and throw them in water. They throw them in lakes, these icy lakes up there. And then they sit until now, and then they package them up, and then they start shipping them down here. So they've been dead for a while. So those don't usually last too long. But I'm not a tree aficionado. I just know one year I cut my own down, and it was great. The next year I cut my own down, and it was dead within 4 days. And it was basically don't fart near it, or you'll blow all the pine needles off of it. So still looking for a Christmas tree. I'm going to be looking. No, I'm not going artificial. I've weaned it down, by the way. I'm no longer a 4-tree household. I've only got 2, now 3, because I bought another one to put in the living room. But I've got 2 of them are artificial. The one in the bar and the one upstairs is artificial. And then the real one goes downstairs in the big great room. So that's it. 877-867-1670. Again, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go do so. Dave says, by the way, you got to go. Here we go. Cranberry sauce. And he says, you always have to cut down your own tree. I'm not getting into this. Not doing it. No more. This is from Ricky, who says, great show today. I think the Packers have a little bit of hope left. If they can just get Aaron Rodgers' thumb healthy, I think he would be much more accurate and give this team a better shot at winning. By the way, killed a mosquito in our kitchen last night. Haven't seen signs of that since summer. What's up? How the hell do I know? I'm not a bug dude. Call our Milwaukee Bedbug Pro guys to come over and kill mosquitoes in your house, I guess. Just people ask the weirdest questions, I swear to God. What do we do about mosquitoes, Bill? I have no idea. I have no deeply philosophical answer for all of that. Oh, God. This is from Belmar. Belmar says, I don't see the Packers winning, but maybe 1 or 2 games the rest of the season. This is going to be a team that's going to be drafting high this year. Do you trust enough in Gutekunst to be able to get this team back on track in only 1 season? That's a great question. That's a great question. I want to say yes. But I am, that's a great question. Let's just say the Packers end up with a top 10 draft choice. Do you believe that with the track record in recent history, there's enough there to say, this is going to be a terrific draft for the Green Bay Packers. They're going to refortify this team and everything's going to be good. No, let's just be honest. I don't think so. I don't have enough faith in it. And the worst part about it is that you would then have high draft choices that you're going to hang on to like grim death. They're going to have every opportunity to fail. And you're probably going to hang on to them maybe a little bit longer than you should. So, no, I don't. I hope I'm surprised. I hope that actually it's the opposite, that they do extremely well. And that the guys they pick up come in and fortify the team right away. But no, man. No, I got to say, no, I wouldn't trust it. John says, our 11th first round corner. Well, then you got to ask yourself, what are you going to go after? I think they're set at corner. I mean, you can always add depth later, but I think they're set at corner. I think, to be honest with you, when you're talking about top 10, you take the best available player. I don't care what that player is. You take the best available player. If you reach in a top 10 and they don't live up to expectation, you hold on to that player longer than you should, and that player ends up costing you and hurting your team for a longer period of time. Knowing Gutekunst, this is from James. He says, knowing Gutekunst will take a punter. No, he's never taken a punter. That was Mike Sherman. Mike Sherman took BJ Sander. No, I take that back. He took J.K. Scott. Which one was J.K. Scott? J.K. Scott was 2018, right? Took J.K. But J.K. Scott was a 5th round draft choice. And that was his first year. And the Packers needed a punter. And J.K. Scott was boy, when he connected, he had a big leg, but there was just way too many times he was too inconsistent. He was just, just didn't get it done. 877-867-1670. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We're going to come back. Mike Clemens going to be taking us the rest of the way. We're going to talk with Mike about now that this team's had a weekend off and where they are at going out of last week and into today. So we're going to talk with Mike about all of this kind of stuff. So let's get into that when we come back. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery. It's that time of year. Start celebrating a little bit. Start enjoying friends, family. Break open a bottle of wine and keep it local. Keep it from right here in our own backyard. If you're going into a grocery store, liquor store, wine store, ask for it by name, ForgottenFireWinery.com, ForgottenFireWinery.com. And you can see all that they have to offer. And if you're up in the Peshtigo area, stop into the wine store. Ask for the tasting with Jake and tell them we sent you and see what you get in return. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Check out our friends at ForgottenFireWinery.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Cool weather, brisk winds, and a hot deal. Hi, this is Gina Della from Pella. Is your home ready for winter weather? Don't wait. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years. When it's cold outside, thanks to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you'll be warm and toasty inside. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can be installed in as little as a day, with little to no disruption to your family or your home. Plus, you'll get expert advice from our Pella specialists, professional installation by Pella's certified installers, and the excellent service our customers have come to expect. And Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin has products and warranty offers you won't find anywhere else. Don't wait for the heating bills to start piling up. Right now, put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 2 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Expires 11/30/2022. Certain exclusions and restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Here they come, the holidays. Want to get those special people in your life, your coworkers, your clients. What do we all love? Great food, right? Better yet, great meats. Where do you turn? There's a family farm right here in Wisconsin, Humberg, Wisconsin to be exact. That's Scholze Family Beef, and they've been spreading holiday cheer in the form of steaks, chops, beef sticks, and so much more for 3 generations. Scholze Family Beef gift certificates, they are the answer to all of your holiday gift-giving ideas. That's Scholze, SCHOLZE, FamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Rogers, deep drop, over the middle, too high. 9.5 to go. Steps up, downfield, and incomplete on third down. Rogers dancing around, throws, and incomplete.
I mean, I missed a couple throws for sure.
What happened on that third down to Lazard?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't see exactly where the ball was. Had some people in my face, but I feel like I probably should hit that one.
What happened on the one to Sammy?
Yeah, I just missed the throw. I don't know. I got to go back and look at it. I felt like fundamentally I was, in a good spot, but just didn't have the same type of consistent grip the same way. I threw a lot of kind of wobblers tonight.
Welcome back to the program. Those are the words of Al Michaels, Aaron Rodgers. Bring in now our buddy Mike Clemens. By the way, Mike Clemens brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, and comfortable. And don't forget, they're a mile from Lambeau Field, whether it's for a game, checking out the Hall of Fame, going up for training camp, whatever it happens to be. Don't forget, year-round, perfect for a family stay in the Bay Family Restaurant. Just saw a tweet from them, or a post from them on Facebook, as a matter of fact. Homestyle cooking 7 days a week. Bay Motel Green Bay, right there on South Military Avenue. Call them today for reservations, 920-494-3441, 920-494-3441, or go online at baymotelgreenbay.com. That's baymotelgreenbay.com. Mike Clemens now joining us. Michael, how you doing, pal?
I'm good, Bill. So when we were on Friday's show and we recapped players and coaches from both the Packers and the Titans locker room, and I told you, after spending much of the night there at the stadium after the game was over, got to talk to players and coaches from both sides, and then just kind of compare notes with, people, some of the people who were going back to Nashville, whatever. I came out, I said, I walk out of the stadium about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, snow's coming down, and it just hits me. It's like, why are we talking about development receivers or offensive line or scheme or missing assistant coaches that have gone on to become head coaches and all this? This is all about Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
But you go back and forth and you look at some of the, you've got Sammy Watkins, a veteran, he's wide open, and the ball goes sailing over his head. And Alan Lazard in clutch situations. And you start saying to yourself, this is not guys that are in the wrong position. The most accurate passer perhaps in the history of the sport is missing these guys. He's got a thumb injury. And then on Friday's show now, didn't you guys, because we had it on in the office at Lambeau, did you guys talk about that there was some story about a tweet?
Yeah, there was a guy who supposedly has a podcast or something about the team, but he says that he was at an event that Rodgers told him, oh, yeah, no, the thumb's broke. And that was the first anybody had heard of it. So we've all speculated, is it or isn't broke, but we've all speculated, but nobody, but that's what it was there was a guy who does a podcast about the Packers. He was at some event for, I think it was Make-A-Wish or something to the effect. And he was talking to Rodgers about his thumb, and he said Rodgers told him that, no, it's broke. I broke it. And that's where this came from.
I don't know if you remember, but while I was on the air with you during my report on Friday, at some point you stopped down. You just said, can I ask you, has anybody ever asked him exactly if it's broken or not? I remember I told you, I said, yeah, point blank. And the answer was, it's hurt. It's hurt. Okay, so fast forward over the weekend. I'm driving back late last night. I'm listening to some of the national shows. This thing is just ballooned into, he's playing with a broken thumb, and we got this reports, blah, blah, blah. And how come nobody up there in the media has asked him any questions? This is just like the COVID thing. No one's following up.
Right.
Okay, now you know me. This is when I start getting pissed off,
Right.
Because, understand what this job is. And, when we're reporting on athletes that are trying to do their jobs and playing in sports, it's not much different than if your coworker can't come in and they just say, we got a doctor's appointment. Do you go to your coworker and say, well, how's the appointment? Well, what's wrong with you? Well, what did they say after that? You don't do that. And where we're at, we can ask the question maybe once, but for the most part, the team is in charge of providing the information on the injury report. And if you started getting to MCL, PCL, ACL, and whether they use a cadaver, that's up to the player or the agent or somewhere down the road. This is just the way it's played. But I would like to point out to the jury,
right,
that this thing happened in London. I was on the last play against the Giants, and as I said on Friday's show, we can come up with all these other problems that are on the team, but the number one problem is that this team is built around Aaron Rodgers. You're counting on this guy to be close to the most accurate player, to the two-time MVP he's been the last 2 or 3 years, to deliver. And so he hurts this thing in the last play of the game against the Giants. They've been 1-6 since he did this to his thumb. So he was asked about this on the 26th. I've asked him about once every other week, how's the thumb coming along? And then if he wants to put it out there, he can go as far as he wants. He was asked, is he taking more snaps in the shotgun now? It appeared that, and this is something you'd brought up on the show and people here, than taking center, because it's like, all right, if you get this sore thumb and it's all taped up, and I put pictures up on Twitter that we posted out a month ago, that maybe when he's taking under the center snaps from Josh Myers, maybe that hurts the hand. So maybe that's why he's suddenly going back into shotgun. Here was his answer. He kind of got his phrases screwed up a little bit. I think he meant to say center the second time. But listen, right in the middle, point blank, he's asked, is the thumb broken? Here you go.
Yeah, I think we've been running the ball pretty good in the gun. And a lot of teams will have a check if you're in the gun to a certain coverage and a check if you're under center. And so some of that is trying to get the defense to play some more shell to give us lighter box to run. But I've told them I don't need any extra snaps in the gun. When it's game day, I'll deal with the pain and I can take a snap from under center. But we've just kind of gone in that direction a little bit more.
2 more for him.
Is your thumb broken? My thumb is hurt. I might. Definitely felt a little better in the second half. It felt pretty good leading up to the game, but there's every now and then there's a certain snap or play that might hurt it a little more. So we'll see how it feels. I'm gonna go easy on some of the under center snaps until later in the week, and then if it's feeling good, probably won't tape it. But if I need a little reinforcement, then I will.
Flat out, is a thumb broke? Now, Mike, this is where I go. You've really screwed us in the past, Aaron, because the immunization thing. Are you vaccinated? I'm immunized, yes. Okay, so we just took it as this is what he was saying, and clearly we were wrong.
That's his answer.
Yes.
That's his answer. It's not we're not district attorneys or prosecutors here,
right.
I guess maybe sometimes some reporters have been that way. We've all covered this guy since 2005, and the answers have always been straight. You can argue if they get passive aggressive or if he should be saying those things and blah, blah, blah. But, he also talks to us off the record too, and it's always been spot on.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a good track record with us.
Right. For the most part, yeah. The only major faux pas was the I'm immunized when he just led people down a different path. So
let's play it one more time for you here.
I've
got the edit, okay?
Yep.
Here's the actual question and answer.
My thumb is hurt.
That was it. He did not confirm nor deny. He just said my thumb is hurt. He didn't say it's broken. He just said my thumb is hurt. So For those out there that suddenly are saying, no, he said it's broke. He's never said that publicly to anybody, as far as we know. Correct?
Correct.
So there you go.
Yeah, he's returning for us right now.
Right. There you go.
He was right about that too.
Yes, another
Rogers.
Very much a veiled comment. In other words, yeah, he's not going to be here very long. He's a returner at best. So there you go. Well,
so then I asked Bill. I asked him. Like a couple weeks later. So how's that right thumb feeling compared to like when you injured in London? I'm trying to ask all different kinds of angles because he's been asked on the record. Is it broken? It's hurt. That's his answer. So, and then he looks like he's maybe making some progress. And here's what is his answer on that day.
About the same. Yeah, about the same. I need probably a week off for it to get back to where I need it to be. Every game there's been something that's hit it, whether it's a snap under center or a hit from a defender. So just got to deal with it. But I think a combination of the weather and just a little different mindset, I was able to really put the ball where I wanted to.
Now, Mike, he gets a little time off, at least, a mini bye, if you will. So hopefully coming up against the Eagles on Sunday night, it's at least a little bit better.
We asked him about this a couple of weeks ago, looking at the schedule. You get a mini bye after a Thursday night game. You still got your regular bye. By the way, Matt LaFleur, he brought that up in Friday afternoon's press conference after the game, after looking at the tape. He mumbled something about, maybe we should have taken that bye after the London game. And then Mark Daniels followed up, say, whoa, wait a minute. And he went and said, yeah, with the way things have gone since London, 1-6, maybe we should have taken the bye after London. But he says, and then he had to correct himself. I made the decision, which means, probably the analytics boys are in there, or Goody Coons had some idea, or who knows, whatever. They went with their idea, like, no, keep playing, and push off the bye week until December. Maybe that's what the players had suggested. But anyway, LaFleur is now openly, honestly, second guessing. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do, and to not take the bye week off like you're offered from the league after making that travel. Whatever the case, Rodgers was asked, so, you've got these times coming off. And if you're thinking it's, that it's some kind of a bruise, maybe if he gets 10 days of rest or something like that, that's all it really needs to heal. And here's what Aaron said back then.
Yeah, I think every day off's going to help for sure. But I feel like it needs 7 days probably, and not just a couple. I'm not sure how many Matt's going to give us off. Hopefully we can win this one, and maybe Captain Blood takes away that bonus Monday that he's got planned.
Captain Blood, although they are practicing today, Captain Blood's got him out there apparently, or at least doing something. But Captain Blood's going to go. Yeah, walk through today.
And I think the last time he was asked about it, this might have been another time where I asked him, it's this thing getting in. I'm pulling up these file clips that we've played on the show in the daily reports we do on the Packers. If it's getting any better after being, crushed on that helmet on the Hail Mary attempt in London against the Giants.
I need a couple weeks. So just trying to get to the bye week, and then hopefully by then it's not a problem. We got a mini bye after the Thursday game. But it's getting a little bit better, yeah.
There you go. Let's do this. We're going to step out, take a quick break. Mike Clemens joining us on the line. So for every time Aaron Rodgers has been asked about the thumb, he's never said it's broken. He said it was hurt, which, again, he said he was immunized as opposed to vaccinated. So you don't know what to really believe there, but he's never alluded to the fact that it's broke. Although it being injured this long, maybe one could assume that it is, but or at least in some way, shape, or form fractured, but it's never been confirmed officially. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, you can, but we're going to go with Mike the remainder of the way. And this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers. They are in West Bend this time of year. Guys, listen up. You want to buy like a guy? This is the time to do it. Buy Like a Guy podcast, BUI, Buy Like a Guy podcast. And you can find it at Kane, Koehen, KaneJewelry.com. KaneJewelry.com. And Andy Kane, his wife Jen, they do a great job, but they are, it's worth the drive to West Bend for not only the jewelry that they have, but for the education of buying the jewelry that they have. And you'll walk out of there not only with a great piece, but also a hell of a lot smarter for maybe your next purchase. Or if you go to the Buy Like a Guy podcast, you can find out more about your purchase now. Check out our friends at Kane, K-O-E-H-N, KaneJewelry.com. They are the place to go. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Rogers, deep drop, over the middle, too high. 9.5 to go. Steps up, downfield, and incomplete.
Every individual has something to work on and get better at. Whether it's a coverage bust defensively, whether it's a protection bust and or any type of mistake in regards to the mental errors. That's extremely disappointing, especially where we're at in the season. I mean, quite frankly, even when we are all on the same page, we're not executing to the level that we need to. And that's why we're sitting here at freaking 4-7.
Welcome back. Those are the words of Matt LaFleur. That's where they're at. Freaking 4-7. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. Gift ideas for the Harley lover in your life. They have it all. Go to Highway 67 in Oconomowoc or just go to wishd.com. That is wishd.com. They have all kinds of things, whether it's motor clothes, gift cards, service, parts, accessories, whatever it happens to be. Go to wishd.com. Joining us on the hotline, our guy Mike Clemens is here. So, Mike, if we all admit that the thumb is bad, then that explains some of the poor throws. Also, he's had some spectacular throws that only Aaron Rodgers could make. So you don't really know how badly hurt that thumb is,
And your best game of the year was your win over the Cowboys.
Right.
Man, did you expect the Cowboys to just mop up the Vikings?
No.
In their house like that yesterday?
They put a whooping on.
It was amazing. That was amazing. Well, anyway, but then these clearly bad throws in cold weather against the Titans. And, at the end of the day, you're just saying, is this thing getting worse? Because the accuracy seems to be getting worse. And then that's, you start thinking questions about, well, if they know it's broken, of course they know it's broken, if it is. They know the status of it. And they're out there at practice and they're evaluating. He's getting treatments on Wednesdays and practicing on Thursdays and Fridays. There's the one time that he did work out on Wednesday. I think that was leading up to the Cowboys game, actually. But that's the situation. Should they have shut him down for a couple of weeks, put in Jordan Love during two perhaps weaker opponents, and just see if they can, split it, and then get Rodgers healed up to try and make a run at this thing later on. Anyway, LaFleur was asked Friday afternoon point blank, look, it looks like Aaron is struggling, and it's getting worse instead of better. Do you think he can get through the rest of the season the way the thumb is right now, from what you know?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I know he's battling through it. He's made some really great throws, and then he's missed some throws, and I think that's life of a quarterback in this league. You're never going to be perfect. Certainly, I thought 5 days ago or whatever, he threw the ball as accurately as he has all season, and there were a couple throws in this past game that were, on point. You look at that sail route that he threw, or that corner route that he threw to Cobby. That was a hell of a throw. So I think there were a couple that certainly he'd like to have back.
Mike, he missed some guys. We all know that. The defense also missed a few guys. We all know that as well. It seems like there's always probably 3 or 4 things during a game you can look at that it's just a miss. You know what I mean? Whether it's a missed pass, a missed coverage, missed tackle, whatever it happens to be.
So no Rashawn Gary. So that takes away your best pass rusher to hurry up a Ryan Tannehill. And, you talk to the Titans and they pretty much said, hey, you know what? We knew they're going to play the gaps and try and take away our run game. And Ryan was, set to stand back there and take some shots, which he did. And he had 3 or 4 plays that went. Now, I had at least 4 plays that were 30 plus or more that you would put down as an explosive gain. The Packers graded it as 3 for whatever reason. But, LaFleur, it was clear that Joe Barry was focused and accomplished keeping Derrick Henry to under 100 yards rushing. But Derrick had that one little screenplay that went for like 40 yards. So LaFleur was asked, he says he doesn't have tolerance for those explosive plays. He calls them busted coverages that they had against the Titans on Thursday night.
The thing that's disappointing is just the bus. When you have guys that don't play their responsibility and you get guys running free. And that happened on a couple of those, really on 3 of the big explosive plays that they had. The third down, we should add a safety back there. It puts Keyshawn in a very tough position. They ran a 2-man stack. We had 2 guys on, we call it a 7-7, a deep, basically a pylon route. We had 2 guys on the pylon, and Robert Woods is wide open, and that's like a 30-some yard gain. And then we cut the stomp route when they're backed up, the inside fade to their tight end there, and another 30-yard gain or whatever it was. So those are critical errors. Explosive plays typically lead to points. Yeah, it was extremely disappointing to have those coverage busts and to give up those explosion plays when those are preventable.
This is, Mike, one of those things where at the end of the season, you're midway through the season, your season's damn near almost mathematically done, and you're still having these, quote, coverage busts. And is this, because if this is still communication, don't you look at coaching to say at some point, do you guys, are you teaching these guys enough to understand what it is you're playing, or are you not bringing that level of teaching, into it? Are you not lowering yourself to whatever level that maybe they have the ability to play, so instead of expecting them to play into your philosophy?
Well, if you're Goody, if you're the Packers GM, general manager, Brian Gutekunst, and it's Thanksgiving, then this weekend is when he brings in the pro scouts and he says, okay, here's what I think. Here's what I like about our current roster. Here's where we're going to have to make changes next year. So when you guys go back out there for these final games or for the bowl games, here's your shopping list. Here's your assignments. And he's going to have to sit down with LaFleur and start making those kinds of decisions about, tell me how you think your staff is doing. And they're going to have to plot this all out between now and the draft. What's the staff going to look like? What's the roster going to look like? What are their needs? They've made a lot of concessions for Aaron Rodgers. Tom Clements is the quarterback coach. He's 69 years old. He left the team as the assistant head coach of McCarthy in 2016 when they sort of decided to move on. He got a gig with the Cardinals in 2019 for 2 years as a quarterback coach, but he was happily retired. And when they needed a quarterback coach because Luke Getsy was going to the Bears as an OC, Rodgers said, bring back Tom Clements. It's a guy that he trusts. And keep Mercedes Lewis. This is a guy that I trust at 39 years old next May.
Mm-hmm.
Or Randall Cobb, who will be 33 next training camp. I mean, they're going to have to move on. Do they keep Rodgers another year? Well, they will. He's under contract. But at some point, they've got to take back their roster in some of these spots. Mason Crosby. I was at a dinner sitting at Leroy Butler's table and talking to Mason, and he was starting signing autographs, and his wife was right there, Molly, and she said, we're thinking if we're just here another year or two, because they're already working on their house in Texas, we would be so grateful for that. That was 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you ask LaFleur about what's going on with their secondary and Joe Barry, and listen to this pregnant pause. Are some of these coverage busts, are these miscommunications, coach? Or are some of these guys in the secondary freelancing? In other words, they're going after the ball. They're making their own. They're working on their instincts, not the game plan.
Well, that's a great question. I haven't sat down with our guys yet to talk some of those through, but based on what I see, it's frustrating when I know it's being communicated the right way and it's just not executed the right way. So however you interpret that is, I guess, your choice.
Well, in other words, he feels it's being taught and guys are doing their own thing.
Right.
You know,
That's
it is what
exactly
it is.
right, which
Yeah.
means you got insubordination on your hands, perhaps.
Right. Well, can they
yesterday,
still get
your
in,
next
though? That's a big question.
Right. So yesterday, your next opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles, are down to the Colts. I mean, Jeff Saturday in that group, Matt Ryan looked great. Matt Ryan was making some great throws for 3.5 quarters in that game. And it wasn't until Jalen Hurts and using his legs and getting quarterback sneaks on short yardage or dropping back and there was an open gap and he'd get a first down running 20 yards that kept the Eagles in that game, and they were able to beat the Colts 17-16. And then afterwards, this Nick Sirianni in his second year with the Eagles was, talked about, he was the offensive coordinator for Frank Reich for 2 or 3 years in the Colts before he got the job in Philly. He talked about getting the win.
It wasn't what you draw up or anything like that, but this league, it rarely is. And it's tough sledding. And it was just a great win to be able to get that.
Simon was just saying that you were pretty emotional afterwards. He thought it was tied to your return here to a certain extent. Kind of what are you feeling now that it's over?
Yeah, I'm emotional because I love Frank Reich. I really do, and he's one of the best damn football coaches I've ever been around. So, yeah, I was hoping that him and I would be able to coach against each other in this game. But he's one of my biggest mentors. I got my dad, I got Larry Karras, and I got Frank Reich. And Frank's such a good football coach. And you don't want to know what I think of if he should be here or not, but because you guys can probably imagine what I really think. I love them, and so I got a little bit emotional about that, and it was good to see the guys that I really cared about and some of the things that, Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly and Paris Campbell, I got to talk to them after the game, and Kenny Moore. That means a lot when they say some things that are, obviously I keep those things to myself, but spent a lot of time here. My kids, one of my children was born here, and it was sweet to come here, especially with what happened in this organization in the last couple of weeks and get the win. We live in Indianapolis with a win.
Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up with Mike Clemens. Coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org. Gifts. We got to get gifts. The soup makers, the grillers, the kids, the breakfast connoisseurs, even the pets in our lives. Wait, don't panic. Go to ShoseyFamilyBeef.com. That's ShoseyFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
There's no margin for error. So we've got to get a lot of things corrected, and we've got to look at some of the things that we're asking of our players and making sure that it's just, again, some of those repeat mistakes, whether it's offense or on defense or on teams, just can't have them happening.
Welcome back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. We continue on, wrapping things up with Mike Clemens. And Mike, it's, at this point, it's all about getting the details right and just hoping that you can get anything, anything that gets going.
Well, there's Matt LaFleur, who sets a record. His first 3 years, 13 wins or more every year, and the highest percentage for a new head coach, and even breaking some Lombardi records. And now right here he sits this kind of lame duck at 4-7, trying to figure out what's going on and how the wheels came off on this. And you mentioned Lombardi. Another name that's come up this season twice is Max McGee, who was a longtime broadcaster for the Packers, but he was a wide receiver for Bart Starr. And also just known to be just so funny guy. And so I found this clip of Bart on your show talking about, Lombardi could be so serious, but Max could be sort of the icebreaker.
There was a side of Coach Lombardi that not many people knew, fellas, is how much of a sense of humor he had. And I think that actually bonded them, because when Max would say something that would just fracture you, you could just tell that Coach Lombardi loved it.
Boy, I tell you what, it's nice to hear Bart's voice. Huh.
Isn't it?
Takes you back.
Isn't
man.
it?
Takes you back.
It's not that long ago. That's from 2006 or so,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, the legendary story on the morning of Super Bowl I against the Kansas City Chiefs out there in the Coliseum, that Bart is up in the team hotel. He's dressed. He's getting the morning paper. It's the day of the game. Max is 35 years old at this point. But 2 records that have been broken this year, or at least matched. Romeo Doubs had 8 catches in one game. First time a rookie has done that since when? Max McGee, when he was a rookie. And then this Christian Watson thing with 5 touchdowns in 2 games. Last time that's been done, Max McGee. But Max McGee didn't think he's going to play in the Super Bowl. He's getting old. So he goes out and has a great time all night long. And the legend was he came in, hung over. And the next thing he's thrown into the game when one of the guys goes down. And Bart confirmed the story.
I could see it when I walked down the lobby the next morning, because the morning of the game, because our dress code in those days was if you're in the lobby or you're out of the hotel, you're in a coat and tie. Well, he's coming through the front door at 6:30 in the morning with a coat and tie on, so you figure it out.
A little fun and frivolity is the way to end it today. Mike, good stuff as always, bud. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Thank you, Bill.
All right, pal. There you go. That's our own Mike Clemens joining us for a couple of minutes. Good stuff. We'll back at it again tomorrow. Packers continue to get ready for Sunday night and the last gasp of hope. We'll talk more about it coming up tomorrow on the program. Until then, good stuff on a Monday.